Sorry about that. My mic was actually muted. Started a little bit early today. This is the Boys in the Big Apple podcast with our guest, Jake Asman. Jake, how you doing? I know you're on a little bit of limited time, so we started a little bit early to, help you out. So how
I
you doing?
appreciate it. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
No problem, no problem. I'm gonna start out with some Jet stuff. I'll try to run through through these topics real quick because I know you're on limited time, obviously. I'm a Jet fan, so let me ask, what were your thoughts in the offseason?
I think they've had a solid offseason so far. I would say they need to nail the draft, though, right? I mean, there's still some obvious needs on this team, Luca, and you know that. They need a pass rusher. They need a receiver. They need some more depth on the offensive line. They have the picks to do it. We all know about the picks in the top 10, but I look at the picks in the second round, 35 and 38. The multiple fourth-round picks, the multiple fifth-round picks. They need a home run draft. You look at what Joe Douglas did a year ago, and he nailed on the vast majority of his picks. And obviously, if he hits on Zach Wilson, it's one of the best drafts they've ever had. So it's an important draft. I like the offseason overall, but they're not done yet. They still need to nail this draft if they want to have a successful total offseason.
Now, I've actually bought into this draft idea a little bit. Do you believe in drafting Sauce Gardner or a corner in the first or second round to be a starter?
Second round, yes, depending on who's there. First round, I think Sauce would be a luxury pick given some of the other needs on this team. Now, the Jets could acquire a number one wide receiver before the draft, and they still have number 4 and 10. Then, yeah, maybe you could take Sauce with one of those picks and an edge rusher with the other and vice versa. But I'd be a little surprised if Robert Saleh, who predicates his defense on pass rush, came out and said a couple of months ago that if you want to help your secondary fix the pass rush, Joe Douglas, who's found really good players day 3 of the draft at that corner position, like Bryce Hall and Brandon Eccles and Michael Carter. I'd be surprised if they used a top 10 pick on a cornerback personally.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense towards Robert Saleh's philosophy. Who do you think is who is your top edge rusher for this for this Jets team? I personally think it's obviously Kayvon Thibodeau since the Jets prioritize speed off the edge and power through the middle. But what are your thoughts on the edge position? Obviously, we need one more edge rusher. Talk about Carl Lawson a bit as well. Do you think he will return as the same player he was before that Achilles injury?
So with Lawson, I'll start there. I sure hope so. I don't know if anyone knows, which is why I think you definitely still need to draft an edge. And even if Lawson does return to what he was, he might start slow. He might be rusty after not having to play, not having played in any games for a full year. So I would say this. I think he'll come back and be a really good player, but I'm not banking on it, which is why they still need to address edge rusher with one of these top 10 picks. And as far as who the top guy is, I mean, we agree, Luca. I'm a Kayvon Thibodeau fan. I mean, if Hutchinson's there, I would take him, of course. But realistically, I think Kayvon could make it to 4. And if he's there at 4, I think it's a really easy decision for the Jets to take him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Talking about these top wide receivers that have been on the market, Tyreek Hill was obviously a surprise. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and Terry McLaurin are awaiting extensions, and they might not even participate in their offseason. But do you think the Jets have any chance at these guys?
I do. I think if one of them is traded, the Jets will have a great chance to land them. It's just a matter of will they be traded. And, you're hearing rumblings that they want a new deal. Okay, well, that doesn't mean that, 1, they're going to get traded. And 2, it doesn't mean that they might not just get paid from the team they're on ultimately. So I think if one of those guys is traded, DK, Debo, Terry, A.J. Brown, I think the Jets will be in, and I hope they can pull it off because it does make the draft a lot easier knowing you get that receiver locked up to play opposite Elijah Moore and Corey Davis.
Yeah, I definitely still think you can draft a wide receiver, but you don't have to do it in the first round. You could draft a guy in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th rounds. And who do you think the Jets have the best chance at out of all of those 3 wide receivers that are remaining with extensions? I also forgot to mention Deebo Samuel.
Sure. Yeah, I would say, I guess, A.J. Brown. It just seems like he's been, tweeting a lot about his contract negotiations. And, we've seen this before with Jamal Adams. So, obviously Jet fans are quite familiar with this. But I would go maybe A.J. Brown. I also will say, you look at this team right now, and I'm not going to complain if they add DK, Debo, Scary Terry. Just get one of them, Luca, and I think we'll be happy. But I'll go A.J. Brown for maybe the most likely at this point.
I would never complain about adding a number 1 wide receiver, but it's also good to diversify the skill sets because I think Deebo Samuel and Elijah Moore have the same skill set. But I'm actually going to move on to another topic. Obviously, we're both Yankee fans, as I stand corrected. What were your I hate to bring the offseason up, but what were your thoughts in the offseason? What's your thoughts on the team now? The team's obviously 5-5. They just lost the series to the Orioles. What are your thoughts on the Yankees team right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the guy that just screams and yells and overreacts to 10 games. I mean, the Red Sox, I think, got swept last year to start the year against the Orioles. So, like, these things happen. But if you're a Yankee fan, how do you not look at this team right now and go, man, it feels like we're watching the same exact thing that we watched last year? I mean, offensively, they can't hit. I hate the fact they change the lineup seemingly every night, and there's good players sitting, and guys can't get into a rhythm. You're making your lineup weaker when you're punting on games against the Orioles. Like, Aaron Judge really needs to sit. DJ LeMahieu needs to sit for the third time and 10 games. Like, to me, it's ridiculous. So I'm very frustrated from that standpoint. While at the same time, I do think they are a better team than they were a year ago. Their bullpen is great.
No doubt.
I think the pitching is very good overall. Like, Luis Severino looked awesome the other night. That's a huge sign, encouraging sign for this team. It's just frustrating because it feels like the same exact problems that we saw last year, Luca. It feels like they have existed so far in 2022.
Yeah, it's almost the same exact philosophy as actually Tony Clark mentioned. The Orioles shut out the Yankees for the first time since 2016. It seems like it's, as you mentioned, the same problems. It looks like the same philosophy almost. It's just like you said it. It's the same problems from 2021. It's hard to say, oh, it's only 10 games. It's only this amount of games. But it's almost like it's 2020 part 3. You witnessed part 2 last year in 2021. The Yankees got off to a horrible start, and now this year they're off to a somewhat mediocre start when they're trying to put high expectations for themselves, but they missed on every big free agent from the offseason. And honestly, it's hard to look at that offseason and say, you can't, look back on it because you had Correa, you had Trevor Story, you had Robbie Ray, you had all these names on the market, and I'm just so frustrated. So let me ask you this. Do you think Brian Cashman's job is on the line if the Yankees fail to – I shouldn't say fail to, but if they end up making the wild card and don't win the division? Because this division is going to be tough this year.
Yeah, I don't – I got to see how it looks to answer. If they miss the playoffs, absolutely. I don't think that will happen now with the extra wild card team as well. Let's see, because – I look at this team right now, and I still think they'll figure it out enough offense. Like, even last year, they couldn't hit, and sorry about that. As my
no problem.
My podcast goes rogue and starts playing, but I don't think Cashman's getting fired because I do think this team will make the playoffs. But for a team that has the third highest payroll in baseball, Luca, it really is underwhelming that there's not more givens on this team. Like, it's a lot of if this player bounces back, if this happens, the Yankees could be a championship caliber team. When I feel like there should be more sure things given the amount of payroll that is invested in this team right now.
Let me ask you this. I know this is a little bit of a hot topic, especially early on. Do you think Garrett Cole this season, I know it's only 2 starts, do you think he's pitched like the ace that is getting paid $36 million per year?
So far this year, I mean, the answer is obviously no. He was horrendous opening day, and then he made excuses after, which nobody wants to hear about Billy Crystal throwing you off. And then, his most recent start, I mean, he pitched well, I thought, outside of, a couple tough pitches to Vlad Guerrero, who's going to do that to a lot of people. Let's see what he does, right? I look at this start tomorrow, Luca. You're playing a Tigers team that's not supposed to be a very good team this year. They're still rebuilding. You're the ace of the staff, Garrett Cole. You're paid all this money. This team just lost 2 out of 3 to the Orioles. You got to shut the door tomorrow night. Like, you got to go out there and give this team a big-time start when the offense is scuffling along right now. So, if he goes out there tomorrow and dominates, I think we could, end the conversation about the sticky stuff and is Garrett Cole truly an ace. If he gets hit around by the Tigers tomorrow, he's going to get ripped for it, and rightfully so.
What were your thoughts on the Aaron Judge non-extension? Do you think he's putting too much pressure on himself? Do you think that the Yankees lowballed him? What are your thoughts?
I don't think they lowballed him. I don't blame the Yankees for the offer. I thought it was a fair offer. In fact, I thought Aaron should have taken it because of his injury history and because of the fact – and they were going to pay him $35 million a year, or $30-something million a year, whatever it was. He was not going to get a 10-year deal. I think the fact that they offered him basically an 8-year extension with the arbitration year included was a fair offer. I don't blame Judge for turning it down. If he wants to bet on himself, that's his right. But if he goes out there and gets hurt, or he does put too much pressure on himself and it affects him on the field, he's not getting that contract from another team, I don't think. So it's a risk, but I don't blame the Yankees for it. I don't blame Judge for it. I feel like you got to see just how it plays out.
It definitely creates like an interesting scenario among the fan base because you have fans turning against Judge, you have fans turning against Cashman, but I got to be honest, I think he'll earn that contract elsewhere regardless. But overall, that's pretty much that. Joe, what are your thoughts on Joey Gallo? I know I'm going through every player individually, but Joey Gallo obviously last year was picked up at the trade deadline, and the Yankees didn't move him this offseason. I wasn't surprised at that at all. But Joey Gallo's continued to struggle as a Yankee. Home run or nothing, walks, not a ton of walks, a lot of strikeouts. What are your thoughts on him?
Continues to struggle. I mean, it's been brutal, man. And I understand that, career wise, he's a high on base guy, hits a lot of home runs. He's not even doing that right now. He's not even hitting a lot of home runs. So I've been just as frustrated as I'm sure every Yankee fan listening to the sound of my voice watching Joey Gallo hit. And it's frustrating because he might be a guy that maybe just can't play in New York. I don't know. I'm willing to be a little more patient with him. It's only been 10 games, but he's got to start hitting because he didn't hit last year when they brought him over, and he hasn't hit so far this year.
I'm also going to ask you this because I was watching one of your videos like after the wild card game, and WFAN hosts and ESPN hosts were like, the manager's job is overrated in baseball because the manager's job the lineups, the bullpen, the in-game decisions are all gone. It's pretty much controlled by the front office. I don't really see the manager's job as overrated, but one thing I keep in mind is the leadership. The examples that the manager is setting. Do you think Aaron Boone has set a good example for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to be critical of Boone sometimes. I think the Yankees' issues so far this year, though, are not Boone related. I think it's roster construction, right? Aaron Boone was great for Joey Gallo. Aaron Boone didn't, bring this team in with Aaron Hicks having to play center field and having 9 guys for 8 positions right now. So I think it's easy to pick on the manager, but I think the Yankees' issues are way more Brian Cashman roster construction related than Aaron Boone at this point. I do think a manager matters. Can set the right culture, bring that intensity that rubs off on players. But I don't see that being an issue for the Yankees at this point. I think it's more roster than Boone.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, feel free to ask some questions in the chat. Jay will probably be here for the next 2 or 3 minutes. Then he's going to have to go. Also, I think you had a live stream a couple of months ago on the Knicks. Very disappointing season. I want to hear your thoughts on the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. Very disappointing season. I don't think we thought this Knicks team was going to be the 4th seed again in the East because the East got a lot better. But, man, for this team to not even go out there and be in a playing game where 10 teams make the playoffs technically, I guess, in the East, it was so disappointing. I'm happy that they still have all their draft picks and they have this young core. They got to figure out what the plan is for Julius Randle. I don't know if he's a long-term fit in New York. They got to figure out what the plan is. They got a better point guard. That's been the biggest need since, forever, as we all know, as Knicks fans. And, there's that superstar that becomes available. They have the resources to do it. Who is that player? Is it Donovan Mitchell? Is it someone we're not thinking about? Dame Lillard? I don't know. But it was just a very disappointing year for this team, given how much fun it was a year ago watching this team overachieve and make the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think Emmanuel Quickly is the point guard of the future for this team, or do you think you're going to have to go trade for one? Like, I don't know, a Malcolm Brogdon or De'Aaron Fox if he's still available, which I doubt he is because I think he signed that extension. But, what is your thoughts on the point guard position? Who is the ideal? I shouldn't say ideal, but who's the solution for this Knicks team, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't know if it's IQ as the starting point guard. I think he's more of a hybrid. Like, he could do it, but I don't know if that's his long-term position. Some of the guys you mentioned, I would be all about, right? Obviously, the big fish is Donovan Mitchell, maybe Dame Lillard, but we'll see how that plays out. Some of those other guys you mentioned, I'd be cool with it. They got to do something, though. We cannot have another, year of, we don't have a point guard, because that's how this offense runs. And like Derrick Rose going down crippled this team's season. And what does that say when, a guy in his mid-30s gets hurt and that destroys your chances of being a playoff team? Like that the Knicks cannot rely on only Derrick Rose staying healthy, because let's be real, Derrick Rose never stays healthy. That's always been his MO since he's been in the NBA.
Yeah, definitely. Ever since that knee injury back in 2012 playoffs, but it's because I think his biggest impact was, the leadership and all. But last year he was their closer. The Knicks currently do not have a closer. Now RJ Barrett has hit some clutch shots, but Julius Randle just hasn't been able to come up in the big moment, as a lot of Knicks fans have seen. But What is your job evaluation? I'm going to ask you this last question. Then, you can give out some of your information where people can find you. Obviously, Jets fans, Yankee fan, Knicks fans, whoever. What was your job evaluation of Tom Thibodeau in year 2?
Underwhelming, just like the Knicks. I think he was very stubborn with his rotation. I think he was very stubborn with, the inability to play younger players until it was far too late. Notice the Knicks, Luka, started to play a lot better when Obi Toppin and Emmanuel quickly got a lot more opportunities to play. But I'm not one of those Knicks fans that wanted to fire Thibodeau. I still think he's the best coach they've had since Van Gundy. It was a rough year, but you're not finding a better coach that's out there than Tibbs. So I'm all about giving Thibodeau a third year to kind of right the ship here. But it was a disappointing year, just like Leon Rose had a bad year putting this team together with Kemba and Fournier being the only two moves they made this offseason. It's just not good enough for where this team needed to be.
Jake, where can everybody find you? I hope Alex put the links down in the chat, and hopefully next time we can actually chat for longer, go into a little more depth. So, Jake, let me just say before you give out your information, I really appreciate the content you put out for Jets fans. Obviously, you've went on with guys like Matt O'Leary, Green Bean, and all of them. So please give out your information.
Sure. Thanks for the kind words, man. It's just at Jake Asman on Twitter and Instagram. And if you like YouTube content, talk New York sports, talk Jets every day, at Jake Asman on YouTube. So just search my name and you'll find it there.
Also, Jake does a daily radio show on the weekdays, ESPN Houston, so you can find him there. Jake, I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks for coming on, man.
Luka, anytime, man. Thanks so much for having me. Best of luck with the podcast. And next time we do it, I won't have a previous engagement. We'll have way more time to chat.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on. So, Alex is here now. Alex, what'd you think?
No, I mean, for a Jets fan, he did a good job. Obviously, it's not every day that you get somebody from ESPN Houston, but I peep in and out to see what he's talking about with the Jets and everything else on occasion. But he seems like a guy who actually knows his craft, and he does less Alex means ratings. JK, you're a funny guy, MH. You're a real funny guy. But yeah, he seemed to know what he was doing, and obviously we've been trying to get this Jake Asman thing for a little while now, and hopefully sometime next time we can actually go into depth a little bit more. And obviously he said he had a previous thing to do, so that is not an issue at all. I'm surprised, Luke. Our number 3 is not here, or at least
he will be coming in a little bit. He's actually with family at the moment, so he'll be here. I think Donald's obviously reliable, so. Maybe we can get this conversation.
To put it this way, everybody, and maybe some of you won't get the joke, with the way obviously schedule has been going for our previous number 3, he's like, I don't want to degrade him, but he's like the Daryl Jones of this podcast. If you guys listen to classic rock or anything like that, he's the Daryl Jones of this podcast. But
yes,
we love having Donald on, and
great
tandem of 3 sports that he knows. So. Luca, if you want to go on to anything, or
how about we run through the comments a little bit?
Yeah, I agree. So shout outs to Tony. I was chatting with him a little bit. Shouts to Jets mess, one of our oncoming supporters. This guy has a great commentary voice. Yes, ESPN Houston. You guys can find all the stuff in the description. Judge getting paid elsewhere. Wow. Okay. He'll take a Correa deal, so you can take a deal with the options.
That I could see very much happening. I know Jake was talking about how he thought that Judge basically bet on himself and it might not be the best idea. He does not think that the Yankees lowballed him, which some would disagree, including myself. Which I'm open to hearing other people's opinions, but overall. It's going to be interesting to see how this Judge contract thing falls out. Maybe do I think he needs to play a little bit better? Yes, especially a guy in a contract year, but he's not the sole problem. He's not the sole problem of this team. As Jake alluded to, he said it's not really much of boon, according to his opinion. It's mostly roster construction and lineup construction. As he said perfectly, nailed it on the head. He said it's hard for players to get on hot runs when they're constantly being shifted throughout the lineup, when they don't have a consistent spot in the lineup.
No, I definitely agree with you. We're going to talk about with this whole fucking Orioles thing. I want more 3-and-D guys around RJ. Sorry, Randall and Mitch are valuable, but we need a floor spacing big.
MH, let me ask, do you support drafting a center then? And do you think IQ would be the point guard? Because we obviously need a point guard. We can draft. I mean, we can obviously draft a point guard. We draft a center. Mostly, you'll probably get a floor spacing center in the. You can get him like in the first round of the draft. I got to do my research, obviously. I don't know what space. I don't know what floor stretching centers are out there. I know Mobamba, I think, is a free agent. Let me see. Just give me 1 second here. I'm just
Tony
trying.
says my Wizards need a point guard. I've been frustrated half my life.
Yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie was traded to the Mavericks at the deadline, and what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Raul Neto's the current point guard, but I don't think he's going to hold up. He's much of a tweener, as Clutch B. What
you were saying?
As Clutch B-ball would say it. So I'm trying to find any floor spacing bigs out there.
What's frustrating is that like I have the TV here, and one of the streams I was with Socks on is I set up like the stream on the TV, and unfortunately this is like an old TV, so I can't do that. That's kind of what's frustrating me right now. Tony says, "Hey Blue, did you see the Sox get slaughtered today?" I'm trying to find. Yeah, 8-3. Now I see that. What is it with the Red Sox and the Yankees getting embarrassed by teams that don't matter? I mean, what are the Orioles? I believe is the same record, 4-6. Let's see. I'm gonna take a look. Rich Hill, 4 runs, not gonna get you a lot, and he's a spitball pitcher. Cutter Crawford, I know Sox was talking about him. You know, this is his first year in the bullpen. 4 runs. I mean, that's not going to get you. Let's see who played as a contributor. Kyle Garlick, Jorge Polanco, who was on my fantasy team, by the way, but I think I benched him on accident. It's great when you have a fantasy team and then a fucking game gets postponed. See, that doesn't happen with the NFL unless it's a COVID thing. But I did the fantasy thing for Sox. I'm leading right now, but we'll see how long that lasts. Shouts to Evan.
Yeah, what's going on, Evan?
The Yankees are an embarrassment. The Nets even more of one. Yeah, I mean,
please tune in on Wednesday, Evan. We will be streaming the Nets and Celtics game 2. We'll be right here, 7:00 p.m. Me and Donald will be on the broadcast, as well as Alex will join afterwards. And I'm also hoping to get Tyler James as well. He hasn't responded to my text yet. If not, I can get a Nets guy on here. He says, I can care less about the Kyrie situation. Just play the game.
Here's my thing. Can I say this as like a casual? And once again, this is a casual statement. It's not like I watched the game or anything. I forget. I think I was actually writing a script or something for school. But you got to eat your crow if you're Kyrie. He's the one who stepped on. He stepped on the logo, right?
Yeah, stepped on the Celtics logo.
Yeah, and then the Celtics fans came after him. Now, I mean, there's been a history there, obviously.
He also proceeded to give fans the finger.
He gave the Celtics fans. Yeah, no, he gave the Celtics fans the finger, and they've had a history ever since he left, going back a couple of years ago, and all that drama. But I mean, you got to eat your crow. If you don't play this, that's what's gonna happen. And especially if it's one thing if it's the goddamn Wizards or this team or that team, but if it's the Celtics, your former team that's been ragging on you the last couple of years, I mean, you got to know how to take it. You guys are nice for streaming. Thank you.
No problem.
This isn't possible without you guys. So, I mean, we do this for you.
Trying to do more Nets NBA live streams. Playoffs is obviously a big thing. I've been wanting to do like a Nets solo game for a while. We did the play-in game. We're obviously going to do game 2, maybe game 3. We'll see how the schedule plans out. But overall, my first thoughts on the game before we get Donald on here is to talk about the playoffs.
Well, I mean, are the Nets? We ought to like do a little bit of baseball. I mean, your choice.
Well, I'm just giving my quick thoughts on the Nets game. Overall, the Nets have to be committed to defense and less iso ball for the series to actually pan out in their favor. I mean, I understand that the Nets have KD and Kyrie. They're obviously two feared, players in the playoffs, especially. But obviously, Kyrie was hitting his shots yesterday, but just the lack of effort on the final play on defense. So I'm going to show you the final play right here. So just give me 1 second. I just want to
remind Luca behind the stuff.
Yes, sir.
Wait,
So
you talking about the final play?
the final? Well, it was a little bit of the Nets' final possession, and it was the Celtics' final possession. When the Nets shot and missed, the Celtics did not call timeout, and then they let it down the
They
court.
went down. Yeah. Okay. Now I know. But
All right.
Luka's gonna pull it up.
All right. Let me take off the sound. Kyrie Irving here against Marcus Smart. Just so you know, Marcus Smart won NBA Defensive Player of the Year. He is the first guard to win Defensive Player of the Year since Gary Payton did in 1996. Irving has the ball. He's doubled by Al Horford and Marcus Smart. Irving is on the drive, trying to get out of the double team. Irving stops, still double teamed. He passes out to Kevin Durant, who's defended by Jason Tatum. Notice 3.7 seconds left on the shot clock. Durant on the drive. Now Durant has to hit a very tough shot against a very good contest from Jason Tatum. Shot misses, rebound by Al Horford. Ime Udoka puts up his hands. I actually think that the last play ran out. Let me just say Ime Udoka actually put up his hands saying, no, I will not be calling a timeout. So let me look for the final play real quick.
Luka coming unprepared. No, I'm joking. Evan says, I haven't seen the Nets play defense since Steve Nash became the head coach. I'm worried about that.
Yikes. That's not a very...
Well, I mean, it kind of happens, I mean, with big players, for example, the big three, the big two, if you want to call it, in LA. They're not very good at defense now, are they?
Who, the Lakers? No. For defensive coach and Frank Vogel, they were not very good. They were pretty mediocre, if I have to say. So I'm going to pull up the final play here.
At least the Yankees game will be fun, win or lose. If you're talking about NYY News TV Day, then yes, that will be very fun.
So here we go. 114, 113, 4.1 seconds to go. Smart has the ball in his hands. He fakes the shot, fakes out two defenders, Bruce Brown, and I think this is Nicholas Claxton. Smart passes to Tatum. Now, pay attention here. Jason Tatum is going to cut to the basket. Where's Kevin Durant's awareness on the play? He just kind of stands there. Great pass by Marcus Smart, recognizing the lack of awareness from Kevin Durant. Watch Kyrie Irving's defensive effort. This is criticism, but this is fair criticism. Not biased, no nothing. Watch it again. Pull it back.
Man, you're really going to have the Net fans sit through this?
It's there. I mean, I'm just pointing out as a criticism. Kyrie Irving just played no defense on that play. He's got to body Tatum. If he bodies Tatum, we might not even know if he gets the shot off. Kyrie Irving just tried to just slap the ball out of his hands, and Tatum spun for the layup. So that was the final play of the game. Celtics go on to win 115-114. Game 2 obviously will be played at TD Garden Wednesday night. So
let me ask you a question, Luka. Who played better of the two? Because obviously, once again, I said I wasn't watching the game. Who played better of the two, Kyrie or KD?
I mean, I watched a bit of the game, but Kyrie Irving was hitting threes all over the place. So let me pull up the stat. I hate to pull up the stat sheet because obviously it does not show everything that happened. Durant had 23 on 9 of 24 from the field. Kyrie Irving, 39 points, 12 of 20 from the field, 6 of 10 from downtown, 9 of 9 from the free throw line. So he clearly had the better game. And his plus-minus was 6. So, and Jason Tatum, 31 points of 9 of 18 from the field, 10 of 12 from the free throw line, 3 of 7 from downtown. So Tatum had the best game overall. Obviously, hit the game-winning shot. So that was pretty much that. Alex, you ready to talk the Yankees?
No. By the way, we'll have a Suns guest next week. So tune into that if you're a Suns fan or if you're an NBA fan. We'll be having a Suns guest next week. So talking about Chris Paul and Devin Booker and everything else regarding the Suns and also the NBA playoffs because that's what we do. With that being said, Luka, how about them Yanks? As I used to say when I didn't know anything about football, basketball, hockey, or anything else.
How about them? Same old thing from last year. Jake and I were talking about losing 2 of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles. The lack of offense is obviously apparent. Donald's actually going to come on in a second, but I'm going to continue my thoughts. just nothing really has changed. I mean, again, I'm going to say it again. First 2 games of the season, I had optimism because the offense put up a potent effort, but they're just not coming through at all. No timely hitting, no moving runners over. It's Alex. It's basically they're coming to the plate without a plan. The only ones I could seriously absolve from this are Stanton, LeMahieu, Aaron Hicks, which is a shock, but I will give him credit where it's due. What did I say? Stanton, Hicks, LeMahieu, Trevino has done well. I don't think that catcher position should be fully guaranteed to Kyle Higashioka. He's been terrible offensively. Let's be real.
Anything but guaranteed.
It should be exactly. So Donaldson's been terrible. Let's be real.
No,
Joey Gallo's been awful. IKF has been very disappointing, and he sucks right now because he's not good defensively, and he's not hitting offensively. Let me just say to Donald, I'm sorry that I stunned you with the link. I forgot to tell you that we were going to have you on the pod, so I apologize for that, man.
No, it's all good, man. I'm all here. How are you going? How's everything going?
Everything is good, Donald. I listened to some of your of the clips that were put on by Pinstripe Chronicles. I liked your insight on the Yankees lineup, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this recent Yankees series that didn't go so well.
Well, the first game I think was actually one of the worst games I've ever seen. One of the worst baseball games I've ever seen. It was an absolute disgrace. It was like a little league team and the Yankees were just garbage as well. So, I mean, I can't believe how bad Baltimore are. Like, I cannot believe how bad Baltimore are. It's like incredible. And you know what is the scariest statistic, which I only just realized, was Odor's, 2 RBI single. His 2 RBIs is more than Judge, Gallo, Higashioka, and Falafi combined.
Oh my Lord!
Judge has 1 ribby, and the other 3 have 0.
Even though I think the Yankees kind of lowballed him in extension talks, he's essentially betting on himself, and I do expect him to play better. There's no reason he should just have 1 RBI. He should be doing everything to prove to the Yankees that he deserved that extension. But that's just my piece. The Yankees are not driving in runs. They're not manufacturing runs.
I actually blame Cashman for Aaron Judge's initial struggles. I mean, really? On the very day at the start of the season, the very start of the year, a couple of minutes before opening pitch, what did Brian Cashman do? He came out and aired all his dirty laundry, all the contract negotiations.
You're right.
I mean, you'd have to be a robot for that not to affect you. We're talking about the face of the franchise. The face of the New York Yankees got his contract negotiations aired out by his general manager, who he's supposed to be negotiating with, in confidence. And no, it's not just going to come out anyway. It would have to be leaked out this was Cashman's excuse. Oh, the reason why I'm bringing it out is because it'll come out anyway. No. So I don't trust anything that Cashman's saying. I think he's negotiating in bad faith, and I think that's carrying on into the start of the year for Aaron Judge. Judge will come around. I don't doubt that for a minute, but I fully blame Cashman for it.
Evan says, I thought Cashman said that the offense was unwatchable, but yet he gets no contact hitters. If he did say that, I'm surprised he did, because it's Brian Cashman. His ego is bigger than, many other things.
How about a good old Gleyber Torres becoming the next Gary Sanchez? He's just awful to watch.
He's turned into Gary Sanchez.
He is an automatic double play ball.
He's an automatic out. His body language is not good. Obviously, you said he's an automatic out / double play. He's essentially a reclamation project. And what value does he have?
Well, I agree with you. I think they are turning him into the next Gary Sanchez. Plus, Gleyber Torres, for me, has always had a nice line drive swing, but the Yankees are so obsessed with analytics that it has to be an uppercut swing, and I think this is ruining his game. I think he's broken now. And I don't think he's going to recover as a Yankee. I think he's going to recover in the next team, because I think the Yankees have ruined him at this point. Like they screwed him up, made him into a shortstop, brought him back to second base. Now they're kind of sort of bringing him back to shortstop at times. And offensively, he's just a mess. Like he should not even be starting most times at this rate. Like all his numbers and metrics are garbage.
Absolutely. It's like you said that Cash, I think it was a few podcasts ago, Cashman has an ego, and he's not going to admit that he was wrong about Gleyber Torres, and he's just going to wait and wait and wait, and it's going to continue to cost this team. And it's so hard. It's like, fans don't want you to bring up the offseason, and it's the regular season now. It's this, and this. But how could you watch this team and say and not say anything about how bad the offseason went? Because this is literally 2020 part 3. Because you had all the bats out there. Pitching's not a concern for me. Now, I don't think Garrett Cole's pitching like a $30 million ace. That's another.
You're right.
That's another discussion.
Yeah.
But all the bats out there that you had, Marte, Correa, Story, whoever you want to put on a platter and present to me. But I hate bringing up the offseason, but how could you not compare it to what the Yankees are right now? And you brought it up on Pitch Drive Chronicles, like solely focused in on it. The lineup construction is horrible too. Nobody's getting consistency.
Yeah, I think people that are saying that we're just going to suddenly just come around aren't really looking at the actual way this roster's lineup is constituted. It's kind of like a National League lineup before the DH. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're looking at a catcher and shortstop position, which are completely below average offensively, right? You might get a couple of stray singles from them, but they're not offensive guys. Okay, so that takes you down to about 7 guys in the lineup, right? Now you got Gleyber Torres, and he's broken, right? Now you got Joey Gallo, who has 0 RBIs, and he's been garbage since he got here, right? And even on his best day, all he's going to give you is maybe like 1 home run and like 3 strikeouts. So that's not really great for us, right? So then you're narrowed it down, and then you're looking at Josh Donaldson, who's 36, and he again is very similar to Joey Gallo, where he strikes out a lot, and he bat 220 in the shortened year, 240 last year, right? So that's not a contact guy. And so then you're just focused, and there's really about 4 reliable hitters that we have in our lineup, and that's Judge, that's Stanton, that's DJ LeMahieu, and that's Rizzo. That's the 4 as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you want to extend it up to 6 with Gallo and Donaldson, be my guest. That's fine. Hey, if you want to add Torres, fine. But then you're only getting 7 out of 9. And you're only going to get consistency out of 4 out of 9. So that's half our lineup is going to be completely below average offensively, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's how I view it.
I'd say there's about 5 good hitters, if I had to be honest.
Okay.
You could obviously include, as you said, Judge, LeMahieu, Stanton, Rizzo. I'd say I hate saying this because I've been bashing this player. Aaron Hicks has played well offensively. Has he came up in clutch situations? No. But you can't really knock him too much. Okay. Him being at the top of the lineup is not such a bad thing, in my opinion. I've kind of bought into it a little bit. But Higgy, Gallo, Donaldson, IKF, all liabilities. Gleyber Torres, liability. That's what's killing this offense right now. It's the lack of balance, and it's just, the roster construction, the lineup construction. The philosophy has not changed, and with this team going nowhere, it will not change.
Tony Park says if the Yankees play 500 ball against the Orioles this year, they will miss the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. And I don't want to hear everybody, Boston and, they just lost against the Twins and stuff like that.
The Twins are all right.
Here is where the Yankees need to eclipse. And I think the Yankees and the Red Sox, I think the Red Sox may have the worst record out of the 2 teams right now. So let me take a look. Both teams are 5-5. Okay. So I'm not going to get into this situation because it's not worth my time. It's not my team to talk about, nor is it a topic. Will I ever make it a topic on here? But the Red Sox are losing some players because of the Toronto stuff and the COVID protocols over there, because that's their next series. What the Yankees need to do, especially I think we got Cole on the mound the first game, you need to sweep Detroit. Don't give me this, that, or they do taking 2 of 3. Don't give me that. I get it. Detroit gave Boston hell at times. Boston, the first 2 games of the series, they couldn't, and I watched part of the games, they could not hit with runners in scoring position. It took until the 6th inning in the second game for them to get going. And then they took that momentum because they're a good team. They have fire in the dugout. They took that momentum, took it for the rest of the series. They beat Detroit 2 out of 3 games. So yes, Detroit will give us help because they gave the Red Sox hell. For some reason, we were given hell by the Baltimore Orioles, who couldn't score runners in scoring position. Horrible fundamentals overall. I don't know what analytics they're using. They think they're so good or, so fundamentally sound there. But this is a series you need to eclipse. Once again, just like the Orioles series, you cannot give me this, 2 out of 3 is success. It is not, because guess what? Toronto is at the top of the division right now, and they will most certainly take care of Boston with the problems they're having. Once again, obviously missing some players due to COVID protocols, and the Rays are 5-5 as well. So, you know what? I get it. It's an open race. Anyone could get there. Who are the Rays playing, by the way? I actually need to look at that. The Rays are playing the Cubs. And
let me also mention
5-4. So pretty solid ball club is right now. Say Suzuki, man, why didn't we get him?
Oh, I know. I was campaigning for us to get him.
Let me also mention that Baltimore's pitching is also pretty terrible. It's full of washed-up vets and unknowns when it comes to the youngins. There's no John Means on that team. John Means is injured. And Tony Clark says, at one point, do they bring up Anthony Volpe? He's not ready. He's been horrible down in, I think it was Double-A. He is, Alex?
Slim yesterday, but he's been very up and down. Shouts to Jeffrey, by the way.
Peraza is not playing that well either.
I think Perez has been pretty good. No, last time I heard he's been doing okay, unless he's killed off the last couple of days. I've heard he's
hitting 156. So
yeah, he's not going to be ready unless the Yankees will probably force him up. But I don't think he's ready, and the Yankees are betting way too much on him, and they're putting him under a ton of pressure.
Yeah, since that hot start, Peraza's hitting right now he's hitting 219. So
219, okay.
Which is, once again, not very good. And let me say this. Let me ask this as well, and I understand this is probably an obvious. Do you guys think now, obviously a lot of people were hyping him in spring training, that they should have just taken any stupid team that would have bought the hype and traded Gleyber Torres to them? Now that he looks so terrible.
I wanted Torres traded just purely because we've got a logjam of infielders, and that was on Brian Cashman. Again, he's brought in a logjam of infielders. I don't even know how they're. And this is why, although Aaron Boone is a really not a good manager and he gets overmatched and stuff, but I don't blame a lot of this on him because the roster construction is so terrible that he kind of partially has to rotate infielders quite often in order to get DJ playing time, in order to get Gleyber Torres playing time, and then mix it all around. And that's all on Brian Cashman. He has put together a roster which is just I can't even get my head around it.
Give you guys a little, Alex. Let me pause for a sec. Right. To give you guys a little more pain, Seiya Suzuki got another hit. That's a 9-game hit streak and 10-game on-base streak to start his entire career. Suzuki has tied the longest hit streak to begin an MLB career by a Cubs player over the last 100 seasons in 9 games. Imagine what he could be doing for us.
And he wasn't even signed to that big of a contract, I don't think.
I hated that trade. I really just hated that trade. That trade that we made I thought was completely pointless.
Alex, Suzuki got Kyrie Irving deserved it after what he did to the Celtics logo last year.
Oh, he did. He absolutely deserves any type of criticism after flipping off the Celtics fans.
Yeah, we'll get into that for sure.
So, Alex, Jeffrey has another question for you.
How about the Boston Red Sox catcher who caught the game yesterday will be out for a while now? Is that Vasquez? Because if it's so, I'm fucked on fantasy. Take a look.
Oh, boy. Alex about to suffer defeat. I don't even do fantasy. I don't even do fantasy baseball because it's every day and I can't really keep track of it.
Yeah, I'm a fantasy football savant, but I don't do baseball or basketball fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, he was in the lineup today, but maybe he is injured. Maybe he isn't. They also have Plawecki, so it could be him. But until I know a name, I'm not actually going to be sure.
Yep, Plawecki is out with COVID.
Now, let me ask this, because obviously we talked about him in the struggling lineup, and I'm going to say something after this before you guys get to answer. Do you think Joey Gallo is worth putting in this lineup every day? And with that being said, I'm going to say this. I don't give a shit about expected stats or anything. And don't think I'm calling out anybody on Twitter, because guess what? I've had debates. I had a debate actually about 30 minutes before the show. All right. Stop with the advanced stats for Joey Gallo. He is who he is. He admits who he is, and he's not making adjustments.
Preach.
Exactly. You know, I may not be into analytics, but I'm sure I know the game of baseball. I've had passion for it, and I know what I'm fucking seeing. This guy, I don't care about, this, that, and the other thing or whatever. This guy, when it equates to offensive production and just production as a player overall, he sucks. He sucks. I laughed when our former co-host Sean said a couple months ago, Joey Gallo is not a starting player. I laughed at him. I said, do you not know what he does defensively? I laughed at him, and I'm going to eat my crow. Because guess what? Other than throwing out Jorge Mateo at second base during this series, and I understand it's 10 games. Other than throwing out Jorge Mateo at second base, which was a poor decision, by the way, that's why he's been around different teams after different teams all of a sudden, because he wasn't good with the Yankees. Obviously, he got traded, and then Oakland trade for Sonny Gray. Then he moved a couple other different places, so he's been all around the world at this point. But what kind of production is what was the production? Anytime I will look at advanced stats, first I will look at the real numbers that equate to production, that equate to baseball, and all that stuff. He's a nice guy. Don't care what happens on the field. Manny Machado's not a nice guy. I don't know how he's doing this year. Maybe he's doing good, maybe he's doing bad. You have to be truthful about it. So stop being soft about Joey Gallo, giving me this baseball savant shit and whatever. Because guess what? Guess what baseball savant will tell you? Baseball savant will tell you, based on the analytic stats, that Joey Gallo is better than Seiya Suzuki. Don't believe me?
It's all, Alex, it's all in the percentiles. The walk percentage percentile, you could look at all of it.
And it's not all his fault. Most of it is his fault. Because when you have one player at best on the left side of the infield, you have to knock it to the left side. But he doesn't do that because I'm that type of player. We're 5-5 now. On a 5, unless we're like 8-2 starting off the season, we're a 5-5 team. There's no way everybody should be coming out and saying, well, you know what? I'm that type of player. Yeah. No, buddy, you're not a fucking all-star. You're not an all-star. You're not a world. You haven't won shit. You have not won shit. You were a commodity in Texas. You were a commodity in Texas.
Okay, so I wouldn't say that he isn't a starting level player. I just don't think he's a good player for the Yankees, and I think there's a big difference between that. I think that obviously I think he'd be fine, and maybe half the teams in the majors fine, but for the Yankees, and especially for the way that the lineup is constituted, the lineup is constituted of guys that are all or nothing players, and it's all obsessed with the 3 true outcomes, and he's obviously a 3 true outcomes wet dream because that's all he provides. And considering the whole Yankee roster is that, what he provides you is kind of like it's not, I mean, well, he gives you a lot of walks and strikeouts and home runs. We've got a whole roster of that. So that's why what he gives you isn't actually that much of a difference. But his weaknesses exacerbate the weaknesses that we already have in our roster. And that's what you're seeing now, because we have a dearth of guys that make contact. We have a dearth of guys that hit for average. And we have too many guys that are just always looking to swing for the fences. And that's what Joey Gallo is. So his weaknesses exacerbate the weaknesses that we already have, and his positives are kind of like a net. It's kind of like a net and minus. It's just not that much of a positive at all.
And let me say
Alex,
this
you want me to make you angry?
You can make me angry in 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Let me say this, because I've heard people say this, and this is not just about the Yankees, it's about any team. I'm sure Luca and you, Donald, have heard it about the Knicks and the way different things have been going on, right? Especially about struggling teams, and I'll include the Yankees obviously in that, and I understand it's been 10 games. People say, oh, well, we don't know because we're not in the front office. In my personal opinion, you can start questioning what the front office does if they're not up to expectations. I understand, yes, it's 10 games and all this other shit, whatever. But if something's not going right for the team that's constructed on the field or on the court or on the ice, whatever sport you're talking about, I think you as fans have the right to question the front office and say, hey, look, listen, this guy isn't hitting to his expectations. Why is he still playing? So I don't understand. I don't get that. I understand people are trying to be respectful, but you know what? Sometimes you need to put pressure on this front office. And I think some of this soft mentality is the reason why, the Yankees had literally no regrets about bringing Aaron Boone back, because some of the fan base would buy into this and all this stuff. And I'm not saying Yankees Twitter has everything to do with what the Yankees do, but I'm just saying you have to question the front office. If you don't question the front office, who fucking will? We have a beat media who doesn't question the front office and wants to wonder what's the weather. So, Luca, I know I took some time from you.
Alex, but did you know that Joey Gallo is the 85th percentile in expected slugging percentage? Did you know that Joey Gallo is 70 is
We kicked him out because I
mean, does it what was I going to say? Does it occur to anybody that Joey Gallo's in the 40th percentile in chase rate? And everybody tells me how great.
Time out. Anyone who uses that stat is a fucking imbecile, because all Joey Gallo does is look at strike three.
Exactly. He doesn't have a good batter's eye. That's pretty clear. I don't know if there's a stat you can measure.
I will literally yell at them.
He's in the first percentile in outs above average. So that means he's terrible in that. Sprint speed, he's in the 35th percentile.
Sprint speed. Gee, I wonder where Gleyber Torres is at in there.
Do you want me to look that up?
No. Jeffrey says, Alex, the Boston Red Sox had a great second baseman in Dustin Pedroia when the Red Sox were playing Baltimore a couple years ago. Yeah, I heard. I know Sox talks a lot about Dustin Pedroia, what happened there. But my point was, in that general situation, is Machado's not a nice guy. He's referred to as a dirty player. But hell, is he a good baseball player? Yeah. You guys winning the division, no cap. Toronto overhyped. Do I smell sarcasm?
We're not winning any division. No. I can tell you that for free.
We're questioning whether we're making the playoffs. I mean,
Gleyber Torres is.
I'm gonna before Luca rambles on about this, I kind of want to ask you, Donald, because maybe you've seen it floating around Yankees Twitter. This guy Tommy Smokes from Barstool said that the Yankees are not a championship team this year because of the construction, the way things have been going.
100%
a lot of
right.
people have criticized him. What are your thoughts?
100% right. He's absolutely 100% right. Just absolutely no argument as far as I'm concerned. There definitely is not a championship team. That is a fact. I'd absolutely bet that 100%. But division, I don't know. I think that if you've already lost 2 games to Baltimore, I mean, let's remember that Tampa Bay only lost to Baltimore once last year. When Boston won the division, they only lost 3 times to Baltimore all year. And when the Yankees won the division, it was the same thing. So the Yankees have already lost twice to Baltimore. And for me, the key to the division is actually Baltimore, because when you have the Yankees, Boston, and Toronto and Tampa are all pretty much very similar to each other. It's a 4-team race for the division. Then the key is to who beats up on that little minor league team that's tanking right now, that's Baltimore. And the Yankees already lost the series to them. So as far as I'm concerned, unless the Yankees go unbeaten against Baltimore the rest of the year, or maybe just lose one more game, I just don't think that we can win the division now like that. I know it sounds crazy to say that in April, but that's just the way that I view it. I just don't think this lineup is deep enough to. I mean, look at our offense is historically bad right now, isn't it? It's second last in the American League, right? 14th. It's 14th out of 15. It is. It's 14th out of 15. Our offense right now, and that just says it all.
Yeah, let's see. American League. Well, actually,
Alex, I got a new stat for you. Did you know that Joey Gallo is in the 90th percentile in walk percentage? How does that?
What are you talking about? How does that equate to the stereotype of the player he is?
How does that equate to what his performance is on the field? Do people just come up with these? Oh, listen to this. Here's the perfect stat that defends that Joey Gallo's unlucky. He's in the 95th percentile, which is considered great in barrel percentage.
I've never, and I mean ever. First of all, how do people come up with this bullshit? Like, I can understand, different things and different analytics, but like, I've never seen this shit in football. Oh, sprint percentage and this, that, and the other thing. Like, I when I look at cornerbacks, for example, I listen to passer rating. I listen to completion percentage because that tells a bit of a story. Sprint percentage, and what was the stat you just brought up, Luca?
Barrel percentage. How do you? Why?
Or like basketball, somebody shoots 10 for 27, and then
backboard percentage.
If someone shoots 10 for 27, but apparently the expected, bucket percentage makes it 99 percentile. Come on, give me a break.
A Trae Young percentage. That's the next one. The nuance percentage. Come on, people.
What a crap.
People actually bring this shit to the table as an argument.
They got to make a player look good, Alex.
I don't. Why? Why him? The Yankees won't take. They'll make the. Well, I guess he meant tank. They'll make the necessary moves to compete like they did last year with Rizzo and Gallo. But that's again a little bit of the problem where they're buying in on what they are, and they're going to lose in the wild card. If that's the case.
Here's what the problem is with that. Hal Steinbrenner is refusing for the Yankees to go up past the next luxury tax threshold. So if the Yankees want to make a major move, they will have to they'll have to have the other team eat that player's contract. That's also something to consider. Like, for instance, we read that we were in for Minea, but we didn't want to take on his $9 million salary because we can't afford it. So I guess if you get to the trade deadline, you're going to need the team to eat most of that money, or the Yankees are going to have to move a contract. It makes things a lot more difficult in terms of adding a significant star at the deadline, as far as I'm concerned, considering Hal Steinbrenner's budget.
Yeah. Obviously they're throwing shots. The nerds out here getting money for. I don't understand who buys in on that. Listen, analytics are a part of today's game and sports in general, but making stuff, barrel percentage. Oh, he needs to improve his barrel percentage. How about just shorten your swing? Look, I don't know who brought it up. Actually, let me throw a shout out here, and I don't do shout outs often to especially other people on Yankees Twitter. But there's a guy by the name of NYY Recaps. Perfect explanation on what's wrong with Gleyber Torres. Ready?
Okay.
You know what? We're going to do this. We're going to do this right now. I'm going to unclip my light because I need to make an example of Gleyber Torres because that's what we're doing here.
Oh, no.
So what I'm actually going to use here is my lights is this as a baseball bat. Trust me, it may or may not fail.
High tech here, boys in the Big Apple.
Very, very high tech. So you have let me I'm going to get up into this because why not? All right. So you guys notice, and I understand the light's in the way, but Glaber bats like this, right? He kind of has it on his, kind of has it here, kind of like this.
Right. Okay.
Common sense thing for anyone who's ever played baseball in their entire lives. Now, let me put the light on here so maybe you can see a little bit better. Is that he hits like this, but for a fastball or anything else, how can he adjust his swing when the bat is all the way up here? Do you know how long that takes to get down to the plate? See, let me tell you something, folks. You may get the geek shit on any other's channel. You're going to get the bad explanations here because I've actually played baseball.
And also don't forget that the Yankees have him doing that uppercut swing. He used to have a nice line drive swing that's been gotten rid of.
With Glaber, everything's off of the end of the bat.
Yeah.
So he literally goes like this, and it just goes, ding, and he goes. That's why everything drops into center field with him.
Yeah. He's trying to golf everything. He's trying to golf everything.
Maybe he should be in the PGA tournament.
Well, it's just the way that the Yankees. That's why I didn't blame Marcus Timms last year. I know.
Yeah, Dylan Lawson was supposed to be the next Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like no, it's nothing to do with the ability of the batting coach. It's the organizational philosophy. The Brian Cashman and his nerds want the Yankees to have exit velo, barrel percentage, and hitting it out of the park all the time. That's all they're interested in, and that's why we've got a whole roster of guys that are doing it, and that's why all our entire batting average is like 150, because that's what everyone's trying to do. And there's only a couple on our roster who I trust to actually do it correctly. So it's the organizational philosophy.
Yeah. Now, this is probably an obvious answer for Donald. Do you think Jose Trevino should be the starting catcher?
I would say that he should be sharing time rather than just being a backup. I think that he should be getting extended time, whether that makes him the starter or not. At the moment, I would say that he probably should be starting more than Higashioka because he's hot. And I mean, anyone who's ever watched baseball should know that you should ride the hot hand. Now, the Yankees are the only organization in baseball that doesn't believe in that. But A-Rod would testify to the fact that he knew himself that there's times when you're hot and there's times when you're not. And that's just normal baseball. It's as long as I've ever known it. I've been watching baseball for 30 plus years, and you know when someone's hot and you know when someone's not. And so you should always ride the hot hand because it's going to go away very soon because it's a game of failure. But for some reason, the Yankees are so obsessed with numbers and stat sheets and spreadsheets, they're not looking at what's going on right in front of them. And so Trevino actually helped the Yankees win a couple of games. I don't think he's a particularly good hitter, but it doesn't matter because he was actually just making contact. He was getting on base, and that's all you need at the bottom of the order. But the Yankees had to get rid of that, and they had to bring in Higashioka, who's really struggling right now. And it's like, what are they looking at? So, yeah, to answer your question, I would say that I don't think he's a starting caliber catcher, but I think that he should be having increased time. And at the moment, he should be starting more than Higashioka until Higashioka comes around.
Tony says, since we are throwing out useless stats, I played first base and the only first baseman in history with 400 homers, 200 stolen bases, 1,500 RBIs, and 15 runs scored. Oh my! Well, that's Hall of Fame type stats right there. What was I going to say? Alex Extra about to break a screen. Alex making the stance look better. Yeah, I probably was, honestly.
He did. It was a nice swing.
I think every time I come down here, I need to bring a baseball bat with me. I think that's gonna be my next thing. I need to do like an instruction video on why the Yankees are so no. Like fuck the analytics, fuck the launch angle, all that shit. I'm gonna give you a real instruction because guess what? That's me.
Question, Alex, not to criticize you, who would listen to you?
I'll fucking make people listen to me. How about that?
In what way? Are you paying them?
No, I'm not. Why would I pay? No. People would pay to listen to me. I mean, that's what it'd be like a master class.
So when I was with obviously with the Prince Stripe Chronicles, I interviewed Ron Blomberg, the
The first DH, yeah.
Very, very, very first DH, and obviously a Yankee DH legend, right? And I spoke to him about hitting, and he said that he's upset at the Yankee organizational philosophy. And apparently, Brian Cashman asked him when there was an instructor job or even a batting coach job available a couple of years prior to Tim's getting it. He asked Blomberg, and Blomberg's like, "You're not going to like my philosophy because it's old school. It's and you're not going to like what I'm going to say," because he's completely against the way that the Yankees are running things right now. And he told me that because he's still a scout, he was scouting the Yankees minor league system. He said that Gleyber Torres had a pure swing, and he said that Gary Sanchez is actually one of the better hitters because he could hit to all fields. This is prior to him coming up to the majors. So he said that he was really impressed with Gary Sanchez's approach, but he said that as soon as Gary Sanchez went up to the majors, Brian Cashman turned him into a strictly pull hitter, and he said that it's ruined his game. So he puts a lot of the blame on the Yankee organization at the big league level because minor league level, we're bringing up good hitters that can hit to all fields, but the Yankees are making them strictly pull hitters and strictly home run hitters, and it's killing their game. So I mean, if you want, you don't even need like that excellent batting stance right there. You just speak to the horse's mouth. We're talking about the very first DH, a really good Yankee, really good hitter, who's been there, done that, and he's seen it. He's a Yankee scout. He's not impressed with the way Yankees are running things.
For McNeil, did y'all see the explanation A-Rod gave as to why the Yankees should re-sign Judge? He said because he's a good-looking guy. I can't make this stuff up. I saw there was an explanation. I didn't actually watch the video. It was on K-Rod. I mean, personally, Lawrence Tynes put out a very good tweet, and obviously, once again, the bias for the New York Giants comes in here.
Big blood.
Yes, but he said, let me pull up. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to quote tweet him for the sake of quote tweeting. He basically said, the ESPN thought that it was a successful formula to replicate the Eli Manning, the Manning cast. And he said something like that. I'm actually going to pull it up because it's not like he tweets 1,000 times a day. But I said, basically, he's going to get a lot of flack for this tweet. And I'm not saying that it's not true because you think about it, even if it was supposed to be a good combo, a commentator and a former player versus brother. I mean, that once again, that's why I've always dissed this because they're trying to make money, and I don't.
It's not just brother. It's also Hall of Famer, or Hall of Famer, soon to be Hall of Famer. You're talking about Super Bowl champion quarterbacks who can take you inside the huddle. You can everything that you're seeing that normal football watchers can only just see what's happening right in front of them. But like if you got great quarterback minds, whatever anyone would ever say about Eli Manning, he's a very smart quarterback. He can tell you everything that's going on right now, right in that stuff that you can't even imagine. And that's what was special about the Manning cast. Plus they're brothers and they've got fun personalities or whatever. But it's the fact that they can take you inside in depth that only they would know about because they're the quarterbacks in the huddle. And that adds a new insight. But I'm sorry, but like the Yankee announcer and A-Rod, I mean, A-Rod is going to give you a lot of really good stuff, but I'm not quite sure what K's going to add to it.
Yeah, I definitely.
In my opinion, anyway.
Agree there. Is Michael K really that popular? I think he's cool. No. Look, what's your opinion on Michael K?
I once really had a high opinion of him, and I used to watch his show. And then he went very rogue after when the pandemic hit, and his, should I say, one-dimensionalness. Even when he talks baseball, he talks like shit's coming out of his mouth. Personally, he knows nothing. His football knowledge is shit. His basketball knowledge is shit. It's just like hearing his basketball takes, his Knicks takes, hearing his football takes is like my ears bleeding. I'm sorry, I can't listen to him. And he's so obnoxiously egotistical. That's what I can't stand about him. When he thinks he knows everything better than anybody, that's what annoys me. Now, I don't know how people can tolerate him when there's other podcasts and other things that people can listen to, but that's just me.
Yeah, from my personal experiences, through the pandemic, I actually loved the Michael K show. I thought it was a great show to help us through when there was no sports and stuff like that, and they were just it was a fun show and stuff. But what I noticed, and I was a big fan of the Michael K show all the way up until last year, and this is when it changed for me, because this is obviously when the Yankees were at their worst, and this is when he became the most unbelievable, obnoxious company man, where it was like he was just trying to sell you things that just was not going on in front of you. But what was also weird was that, say a caller would come up and a call up going, Brian Cashman has put together a really weird roster. Michael K would obliterate them, roast them, scream at them, call them idiots, get off, blah, 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 right? But then a week later, you'd go, "Oh, Brian Cashman's put together a really roster that's not working." So it's just like he just screams at the fans that call in, but he has exactly the same take himself. So, and then also, I mean, he just basically let Aaron Boone off with murder last year because he's best friends with Aaron Boone. So, like, all the things that you would normally blame a manager for, he just was like, not for Aaron Boone because he's his best friend. So that's when I started to lose interest in the Michael K show. Don's really good. I like Don LaGreca a lot. I think he's excellent. And Peter Rosenberg is an absolute obnoxious asshole of the highest order who doesn't know anything about anything. I mean, honestly, it's
he's there for pop culture. That's it. He knows nothing about sports. He only knows wrestling.
Sports. And that's not even a sport. So
it's entertainment.
Exactly. It's got a script. Listen, I think he's an idiot. I mean, listen, he knows nothing about sports. Nothing. We all know more about sports than he does.
I think Don's a little. I'd say Don is the best of the bunch, but I feel sometimes Don can be a little censored when it comes to his Yankees opinion because he's who he's right next to. Because exactly. I heard him on the radio last year completely going off on Aaron Boone, saying this guy, get your true feelings out there, Aaron, since you're going to be without a job next year. Yeah. Eventually that did not happen, but then he kind of when Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo came in, they kind of got to a little bit of a hot start, I guess. He's like, "Oh, Yankees fans, what do you think of the moves now?" And eventually, Rizzo seems to be a hit, which is an undeniable, and Joey Gallo's a complete miss because he's everything that the Yankees have right now. Home run or nothing.
You're spot on about Don LaGreca. When he's right beside Michael K, his Yankee takes are like whatever Michael K says. But when he's on his own, he's actually far more honest about things. So
yeah,
it really says to me that there's some sort of company bias going on, and it's very difficult to watch. And even his telecasts are difficult to watch unless David Cohn's on. I mean, did you guys enjoy the Cameron Maybin case?
Maybin, I don't think is fit for the job. His voice doesn't fit with me. Now it can take time, obviously, maybe, but I mean, he's another one that tried to make things better than they actually were, kind of.
At least he was enthusiastic. Michael K didn't seem to have any chemistry with him, and there was long silences when Maybin would be bringing stuff up, and then there'd be long gaps. And I'm thinking, well, this is crap. Michael K is struggling here. But I mean, I don't know. My opinion's kind of deteriorated on K recently, but I used to be his biggest fan. I thought he was awesome, but I think he's kind of obnoxious now.
Sometimes it gets out of your head. And Luca, what was that? Luca was so pissed with K, with the whole Joe Judge thing.
What did he call Joe Judge? He basically said that he's the new Belichick, where he tried to be Belichick.
No. That wasn't it. But you said something about how he was acting this way or something like that with Jets fans or Knicks fans or whoever it was. Meanwhile, he wanted Joe Judge to stay.
It's a
contradiction.
Alex, I honestly don't remember what you were saying when I said.
I think I know the gist of it is basically it's kind of a contradiction. He's like the things that he would yell at other teams doing, but then he'd overlook just because he's got a certain relationship or a certain take. So like as I was saying about Aaron Boone, like obviously any other manager who isn't like bringing a team together or isn't organizing anything, you would normally go, well, the manager isn't really doing his job. But because it was Aaron Boone, it was his best friend, they made excuses for him. And he had this take that Joe Judge was heading to Canton, Ohio. Oh, he's the next Hall of Fame manager and stuff like that. But then he would go after, and then he would go after other coaches for exactly the same shit that Joe Judge was doing.
I want to say it had to do something with the Jets. I want to say it had to do something with Gase, and then
he made excuses for Gase. Sorry to interrupt.
That's right.
He did make excuses for Gase.
It had to do something with that because they just like in year 2 they just realized what he is. They completely. I shouldn't say they completely let him off the hook in year 1, but they basically just came to the realization what fans have been saying fans have said for a while now.
Uh-huh.
So that was basically that. Alex, why do you have a bat in your hand?
Well, I mean, just in case, I wanted to, I said I needed a bat, but obviously now I have a real one.
Do Joe a gallows swing. You'll take out your entire ceiling.
Okay. Donald has pushed me to a dare, so I kind of have to do it now. Okay.
Oh, my God. I apologize in advance.
Can't really do it perfectly.
Your skylight's gone.
Oh, my God.
So now it's got to be something like this. Oh, I look at strike 3. Okay. That's exactly what it is.
It made you ask a really good question.
How many guys you got to go for the Yanks to be better? Half the lineup? I mean, there goes the bat. What was I going to say? Donald brought up the first part when he came in. He said that only like half the Yankees in the lineup are actually productive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not expecting the whole lineup to produce every single day, but man, if it's only like half the team and, if it's just Rizzo, Hicks, Stanton, Judge,
yeah,
what are you getting?
And DJ LeMahieu. And he has to sit every other day.
I'm going to point out 3 things. I've never seen Michael Kay. Now, maybe I'm wrong on this. Anyone could actually go out and vouch for him. I've never seen Michael Kay kind of say that the beat media should ask Boone the tough questions.
No,
I'm
never.
not saying he's advocated against it. I'm just saying, we all know that Boone doesn't get the tough questions. But has he ever advocated for it?
No, never, because Alex, that's I shouldn't say it's the same department, but he probably has friends in the media. Why would he go out and criticize his friends and ruin a personal relationship like a guy like Brian Hoke or a Lindsay Adler or whoever? I'm not saying you're wrong, Alex, but that's reality.
And let me say this:
they're both in the media.
Though it's senseless because this is the beat media we have, even though we're trying to make a change, obviously, with our respective companies. Why doesn't, and I understand certain analytics, this, that, and the other thing. How does the beat media really needs to get on board with asking, why did you rest this player after this player hit a home run? Like, well, why did we rest Judge yesterday? Why? Please tell me. Why we rest Judge?
Resting Judge on Jackie Robinson days is a terrible look for the Yankee organization.
Wait, hold on. Now I think about it. They rested him twice during this series. Am I right with that?
They sat him on Jackie Robinson Day. Yeah.
Both losses.
Let me look. Let me double check.
Because now that I think about it, Judge not being in the lineup equated to 2 losses.
Let me double check because he wasn't sat yesterday. He was not sat yesterday, unbelievably.
Was it?
So.
No, he's just useless.
He was only sat once this series, Alex.
Okay, so I was taking it into an overreaction, but also I just don't understand. Like, I want to ask Donald's opinion on this because obviously we had a guy, I think it was last week, Joe,
Yeah.
kind of debate us on the leadoff hitter subject, but
That's right. Yeah.
how do you not see that LeMahieu's not the leadoff hitter of this team? Like, where he's had constant production. Meanwhile, Josh Donaldson, all he's done is hold on. We're gonna do this. This is his swing. I think I can make a perfect swing out of this. Hold it. All right, here we go.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yes. This is Donaldson.
Okay,
But
something
anyway,
like that.
Watching strike three. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. He just this is what he does. This is what he does. Okay. So this is what he does. He's got the bat up here. So I don't know how you could get down to the ball unless he's got a Speedy Gonzalez type swing. But he's got the bat up here, so he just golfs at it. I don't want to destroy anything that's down here, but my point is, But I just don't get how he's not the leadoff hitter.
Well, Donaldson's not a leadoff hitter, man. He's a middle of the order guy.
I mean, I meant to say DJ, but how do you not recognize that by now? I
mean, but they're obsessed with trying Donaldson at leadoff. I mean, he's just not a leadoff hitter. He's a middle of the order guy. He's not a contact hitter. So it's just like crazy to me. And DJ LeMahieu, I mean, instead of rotating him every other day, he needs to be playing every single day. In fact, for me, Judge, Stanton, Rizzo, and DJ should all be playing basically every day, and they should all be set places in the lineup. Should not move. They have a set, whatever it is. If you want Rizzo in between Stanton and Judge, it's up to Boone, or whatever. Those four need to be one after each other, okay? And then you work from there. And you want to rotate guys after them, fine. But those guys need to be playing every single day because you need some consistency. We're not getting any consistency. There's a lot of the problems that we're having right now is because of Aaron Boone's, and probably more, to be accurate, the front office's rotational, giving everybody a day off every single day. I don't think any other team in baseball is doing this. Every other team I'm looking at has pretty much a set lineup. The Yankees are changing things by the minute, and it's absolutely insane to me.
Let me say this. Okay. Also, to go to your point, even if Gleyber was having a good couple of at-bats, there's no reason LeMahieu should not be starting over him or at least be in the same lineup because there's no reason you need to be sitting a $15 million player. As for MH's comment, yeah, I've always loved Donaldson's swing, but when it's not getting, when he's striking out a shit ton, it's not too likable. MH says Mets rest Dom and JD on and off, so I don't know if Judge is off. Makes that much big of a deal early in the season. I can understand why you'd be upset. Judge's box office, and I just don't understand why you're resting that type of guy. How many games? Let's see. They rested him game 1, so that was -3 games. That was what, game 7, game 8? That was game 8 of the season. What did he rest for?
He rested twice in 8 days, I believe.
So this is his projected at least part of the lineup: DJ, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Hicks, Donaldson, Higgy, Torres. So if I'm going to do the math here, that's about 7. So you'll need 2 more players, but it's just so frustrating because you want to bench Gleyber, but who are you going to bench him? Is Marwin Gonzalez not an everyday player? You going to bench him for Marwin Gonzalez? No. Substitute Trevino for Higgy. Well, make the other way around. Put Trevino in for Higgy, and then probably make a couple of players there. But, I mean, at some point, the approach has to change. So I brought up someone brings up an interesting. Now, I want to see if you guys agree with this. About Gleyber Torres. So someone said that Gleyber Torres should be traded, which is obviously something we all agree with. Someone states that Torres has more value than Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela combined. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I could see why.
Yeah. So, somewhat controversial for people.
Although I prefer Urshela.
Yeah, I would prefer to, to be honest, I know I'm going out of my way here, but I prefer Urshela and Correa,
Oh, yeah.
Could have happened. MH says he agrees.
Urshela had 3 hits today for the Twins
Torres
against the
has
Sox.
way more promise, MH says. Yeah, I could agree. I mean, the team could fix him up, but unfortunately right now, the situation, yeah. But as far as the schedule, the way it looks for the Yankees and their upcoming schedule, they obviously play a few games in Detroit, a pair of 6:40 games, and then a 1:10 game on Thursday, which I'll probably miss the start of. It starts when my class ends, so I'll probably get the rest of the game there. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they play against Cleveland.
At home.
I might call the game on Saturday if I don't got anything going for me, maybe. And they also have an off day next Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they do play the Baltimore Orioles at home. Then after that, they play the Kansas City Royals. Why do I feel like, and obviously, once again, this is maybe my negativity, but I feel like maybe not just Detroit, but Cleveland will give us trouble.
I could see that.
Their rookie outfielder, Steven Kwan, has got off to a really good start. I picked him up on fantasy. He's gotten off to a really good start. So shout-outs to him, and I understand, a lot of people don't have the expectation for Cleveland to be good. Cleveland right now sits at 4-5, the second best record in the Central. So everyone else is 4-5, 4-5, 4-6, and then 3-5. So we'll see what happens with them. There's probably a couple of teams playing right now. Garrett Cole will face Tyler Alexander this season, who has a 5.06 ERA, 4 strikeouts. And then also the next day you have Severino and former Red Sox Eduardo Rodriguez 0-1, 5.87 ERA, 7 Ks. And then Montgomery versus Tarek Skubal, 0-1, 3.72 ERA, and a total of 10 strikeouts. And let me say something positively. Wow, I'm gonna be positive about something. Yay.
Rotation.
By the way, yes, I've seen statistically Thor. I think he's started off well. I think he's like 1-0 with a sub 3.
2-0 actually, I think.
Good start for him. I mean, let me see how the Angels are doing just generally as a team. Because obviously you got Shohei. I know Trout was recently hit by the pitch and he had to get taken out of a game, I believe. So he's just had some bad injury luck. But the Angels, though, they do lead the division 6-4. The Texas Rangers 2-7. That is somewhat.
It's kind of disappointing considering who they got this offseason.
Marcus Semien has a 128 batting average right now, and has I believe 2 extra base hits. That's it.
How about Corey Seager getting walked with the bases loaded?
I don't get that. I don't get that. But what was I going to say? How about we talk about Luis Severino? How good has he been? Donald, if you want to implement your thoughts.
I mean, if you're looking at it's Severino and Cortez seem to be the aces of our staff right now. Severino's got really plus stuff. Really, really excited by his outing. And Cortez as well. Nasty Nestor. Oh, I'm going to visit on my dog here. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy.
It's a cute dog.
I know. Riley. So, yeah, Nasty Nestor's been awesome. And so Severino. I'm really impressed with Severino.
Would Riley be interested in trying out for the Yankees?
Do you want to try out for the Yankees, Riley? Huh? You'd be better than Gallo. He's run away.
Oh, man. Luca, your thoughts on the way Severino has started out the season?
I thought Severino's pitched very well. Not much was I shouldn't say not much was expected of him, but there's certainly question marks surrounding his health. He's pitched very good. I got to give him credit where it's due. Striking out Vlad Guerrero 3 times is not what I expected, but you know what? Let him keep pitching like this. He's pitched very well.
MH says Riley batting cleanup. Jeffrey says very beautiful dog. Luis is breathing his life and swagger into this Yankee team. I don't know if I agree with that because they would be much better if he was putting his swag in. I love the Sevy scream though. Ah! Every time he comes off the mountain. That's
like his fire. I like his fire.
Unfortunately, I would hope that the rest of the team picks that up. Hope.
What about Cortez? 5 innings, 12 strikeouts.
Immaculate inning too. I mean, it just puts to shame. And once again, if they won, let's just say 2-0 yesterday, we could talk about, well, Nestor Cortez was just so dominant. He was so filthy. The plate discipline early was so bad because he literally was throwing slider, curveball, slider, whatever, on the outside part of the plate. Orioles hitters could not get that. Literally. And it's not about, oh, well, they're swinging or stuff like that. Most of those strikeouts were the outside corner. They were not adjusting. So, and then it took, obviously, to the 8th inning. We all know what happened there. But it's unfortunate that the story is not Nestor Cortez dominates. It's Yankees offense fails again in spite of Nestor Cortez.
What I'll say for Cortez is, was it last week where I said that I thought there may be a spot starter? I'm actually willing to change that. I think that he actually is a legitimate starter now. I think his ceiling's a lot higher than Ramiro Mendoza, which was my previous comparison. Like, if you're giving up 12 strikeouts in 5 innings, dude balls out, man. And it's all just because he's such a smart pitcher on the mound. He uses his mind. He uses thinks you. He's old school, and he changes arm angles. He changes his wind up, and no one can get close to him. His stuff isn't particularly great, but it's all just he's just such a smart pitcher, and I think it's rare, and no one can get close to it for a reason. And considering over this length of time, you would think that opposition would manage to get us in this analytic year. They managed to get close to him. They can't. So something's working, and whatever's working, just ride it. So. This is a good sign for the Yankees. It's a good thing. I would even have given him another inning, to be honest.
Would Cortez start in a 5-game series, particularly if you're asking about the playoffs? I don't personally. This is my opinion. I don't know if my confidence is there yet because I need to see him against a good team. I mean, we'll see how he shapes up. I think his next start is against Cleveland, and then. Let me look at the schedule again because I think I could probably get a glance. Pending injury, because God knows, with his team and injuries. So probably against Cleveland, that's the second game. So probably against Baltimore, Kansas City. And then after that, likely the last game against Toronto. So I think that's going to be a test, but hopefully he pitches up to standard before then. I would use, if you're asking me as of today, and this is, once again, not to derail anyone's confidence or anything like that, I just don't know that I would pitch him as a starter in a 5-game set. Maybe, if we were the Rays and he was an opener, I would say okay. But I just don't have the confidence that, let's just say we face Toronto or we face the Angels, and they're not going to smack him around because he has the off speed. Once again, I need to see him against a better team, but he looks very good nonetheless.
Could it be that it's actually an advantage that he throws kind of soft as opposed to the modern day? All these hitters are trained to hit 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, 99-mile-an-hour fastballs. The fact that he is constantly using off speed, it takes a while to get used to that. That could be something that's working to our advantage. I think that he's an outlier, man, because everyone else is throwing 99 to 105, and he's just using arm angles. So I think that might be something that we could use to our advantage against the power teams.
MH says out the bullpen. Yeah, I would use him out of the bullpen. Once again, if you were and
again, let me just interrupt, Alex. It also depends who. It's usually like 3 starters who start in a 5-game divisional series. So maybe for like the championship series, obviously you have to win 4 games, but he could be definitely a guy you maybe think about starting in one of your 4 pitchers in a championship series, depending. Now, if it was World Series, now that's a very much bigger discussion. But again, you got to have at least 3 divisional divisional series starters. So,
yeah, definitely agree with you there, Luca. If you want to add anything else baseball related, I know you took some notes on MH's Mets.
Well, I saw that the Mets took 2 out of 3 from the terrible D-backs this weekend, although that the Yankees didn't take advantage of the Orioles. Tyler McGill and David Peterson are doing fine in their much heightened rules, as Taijuan Walker is going to be out for a while with bursitis, I believe. I don't know what bursitis he has. Mets are heating up or beating up on the bad teams, unlike the other New York team. The Mets are supposed to face the Giants in a doubleheader starting tomorrow because tonight was the game was postponed. Team knows how to move. What the Mets are doing. First, let me say Pete Alonso is also thriving in the designated hitter role. Obviously, he's a conventional first baseman. Let me also say the Mets, unlike the Yankees, are putting pressure on the base paths, and they are moving runners over. So they are using Marte and guys like that to their advantage. So you got to give them credit where it's due. They're putting wins together.
Marte has 10 RBIs already.
Holy
this
shit!
year.
Yeah, that's somebody who knows how to drive in runs. I wish we had that guy. MH says you should have took all 3. Yeah, that was definitely a winnable game for you guys, but taking 2 out of 3, I guess, is better than losing 2 out of 3.
They're not at our standards, so it's not like, it's not like, for example, put them in our, because if you think about it, well, yes, they took 2 out of 3, but if we took 2 out of 3 out of the Orioles or the D-backs, we would have considered a failure because we're the Yankees. The Mets are coming up. They're coming up with Showalter and all this other stuff. But good for the Mets.
They've got an actual manager. Buck Showalter's gonna. It's just manages circles around most managers. To be honest, he's really smart. That is a great hire for the Mets.
So I'm actually going to go around the league. Right now, the Blue Jays are leading the AL East. The White Sox are leading the Central. The Angels are leading the West. The NL East belongs to the Mets for right now. It's 7-3. The Cardinals lead their division with a 5-3 record, and the Dodgers and Giants are both tied for the West. As I said, this is going to be a tough series for the Mets as they are taking on the San Francisco Giants, 7-2, with a plus 23 run differential. So it's going to be very interesting series for the Mets, and it's going to be one of challenge, especially without DeGrom, especially without Taijuan Walker. So I'm excited. I'm going to really take closer attention to that.
They've got Bassett though, and Bassett's just awesome.
Bassett's been freaking amazing for them.
Amazing. Yeah.
I did actually find my way to go to a Mets game one day. Find the time. Yankees maybe not playing, or they're playing a night game or a day game. Need to get my ass to see.
Maybe ask MH if he would like to go with us.
Well, if he lives in the area, that would be glorious. I know. Sean said he's going to Mets versus Braves.
That'll be a good game. Be a great game.
Because I know
the rain delay may be a blessing because the Giants are really good. He also says it's the first real test for the Mets. Yep, it's going to be interesting. Really good test early on.
Yeah, they play a they play a 4-game set, and they also play a double header on a Tuesday.
Because of the rain.
Speaking of which, I think classes for my college at least, they end May 2nd. So May 3rd, against the Braves, I would look into possibly going. It's Tuesday, so I don't think I would have anything. But once again, I got to see where everything's going in terms of that. Luca, if you have anything else to add, and I know you guys have an important subject coming up or whatever you want to do next.
Let me see something real quick. Let me pull up my my agenda here. So I think me and Donald can do a little bit NBA playoffs, and maybe we can do I obviously have prospect of the week. Donald, did you get a chance to watch the Celtics Nets game yesterday?
I did not, but I watched that awesome last buzzer beater right there. What a spin move from Tatum! That was disgusting.
I saw some of the game. It was like the second quarter, but taking into analysis, Kyrie did flip off the Celtic fans, which I thought was pretty.
I saw that.
Pretty dumb of him. I understand that Let me just read this one thing. I understand, that Celtics fans have, grudge against him for what he did in Boston. Obviously, that era didn't end well. But why do you have to flip off the fans? They're already motivated to, be on your bad side.
He's like, why does he need to do this stuff? Like
Stephen A. actually went out and defended him today.
Of course, but he should just do his talking on the court. When he's on the court, he's incredible, man. Like in that game that we streamed, he was awesome. He doesn't need to do this stuff. Like, why are you obsessing over Boston Celtic fans? Why are you obsessing about anybody's fans? Just do your talking on the court, and what he does on the court is elite. So just leave it at that. Like, what is he gaining from this? What is he going to gain from this? Like, just when Randall booed the Knick fans, what was he going to gain from that? Like, it's only going to go negatively. And just like what he just did yesterday, it's only going to go negatively. It's just like, there's really no point in that.
I say let the play speak for itself. He obviously stomped on the logo months ago. I think he was like saying, he was past the era and shit, but I just don't understand flipping them off. I don't understand stopping on the logo if you're so over it. And one thing that worries me for the Nets in this series is going to be making a committed effort on defense. They're not I thought they were a very good defensive team early on in the season, but just they don't care. It's all feed it to Kyrie and KD. Obviously, they move the ball, but it's just their defense, especially on the last play. I'm going to show. If I have it bookmarked, I'm going to look up the final.
It was awful defense. Awful.
It was completely awful. It's just a bad showing. So let me just try to find the video here. Celtics game-winning play. It was just
a sick spin move, though. It was sick.
Absolutely sick. So I'm just trying to find the video at the moment. What do you think of Marcus Smart winning Defensive Player of the Year? First guard since Gary Payton to do that.
Wow. I mean, he's a great defensive player. I'm a little surprised he got it, but I mean, I can't begrudge him it. He's probably due on it by this point. He obviously had a great year for the Celtics. The Celtics played far above their sum of their parts, really, in many respects. So I guess he does deserve some kudos for that.
I'm just going to try. Game-winning Celtics.
He says players ain't robots, but if he won, he would look like a badass.
So,
well, I mean, it's kind of like that one time where, what was it? I'm trying to think now. The Titans stormed the Ravens logo in a regular season game. Then in the playoffs, I believe it was 2020, the Ravens got an interception off Tannehill, and they stomped on their logo. They were charged with a penalty, but obviously they won the game.
So here's the final play. I'm going to keep this on mute. Hold on. This is some of Jason Tatum's highlights. This is the final play. Right. Just give me 1 second. It's obviously loading. Let it buffer. Let it load. Here's the final play right now. Pass to Smart. Jason Tatum's going to cut to the basket. Kevin Durant is completely unaware of this cut. And watch Kyrie Irving's effort to defend the play. Awful. Completely awful.
Laughable.
How do you – again, I'm going to say this again. I said this to Evan when he was on here earlier and in the comments section. How do you expect to win a playoff series with no defense? Because these offenses are going to get better. Obviously, defense is key. The Celtics, I think, were doubling Durant towards the end of the game, and they did a very good job. I got to give credit to Ime Udoka, but MH says they should have fouled Jason Tatum. Not really. This is a 2-point game. This is not where a 3-point game where Tatum will just shoot 2. So it just wasn't a smart play by Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Like, who's going to compel them to play defense is my question. That's
I still think it was a really good trade for the Nets. I like that. I like what Drummond's given them. I think Drummond's been a key part to the deal, and I like Seth Curry. I think he's an excellent spot shooter, role player. But defensively, we'll have to see what Ben Simmons gives them. I wonder what kind of role. Like, apparently, he's due in the next
week.
Next week. Well, we'll see what he can give you. I don't know at this stage. He's not played in God knows how long, and he was awful in last year's playoffs. So I don't hold that much hope that he's going to do too much this year's playoffs. But I guess it'll be positive, some size, some defense. It'll help them. I think it'll probably be too late for this year, though. I think the Nets probably need another offseason of planning to make it work.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough situation for Ben Simmons. It's not like he's coming into a regular season game where he can have a little bit of slack. This is going to be a time where he's going to have to perform immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jeffrey Jamestown also said that Gary Payton actually gave Marcus Smart the trophy. Yep, that was true. I did read that. So going to the next series, I was watching the Bulls and Bucks game yesterday. The Bucks ended up with the win. One thing I did notice is that Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine all shot poorly from the field. That's probably the main reason for the struggles. Also, they are not the best defensive team in the NBA. They're one of the worst. I'd say top 10 worst. Bulls role players came up with nothing offensively, and Giannis, there was no answer for him defensively. I mean, Patrick Williams is a good defender, but he's not at the biggest size as Giannis. And if you're going to double Giannis, you can pass out to guys like Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. They have weapons that can shoot the basketball, like Wesley Matthews, too. So it's just not a poor game planning, poor defense ultimately led that's going to be their downfall in this series. It's the poor defense, the poor acumen. Zach LaVine's not a good defender. DeRozan obviously will get exposed in the playoffs. It's going to have to be down to the scoring and the shooting. And obviously having not having Lonzo Ball does hurt in the passing and the defense. But it's going to be an interesting series. I don't think they really stand a chance. Now, next year, if they get better, they can be definitely something. So I think it's going to be a first-round exit for the Bulls.
I think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I think it'll be 5 games. I think Milwaukee can tie it up. I just don't think I think the Bulls offensively can match them. It's just defensively they don't have anyone that can match Giannis or even get out to guard Middleton. I just don't see it. Yeah, what do you want to say, Alex?
Adding on to, I know someone brought up that Marte, and I know this is baseball, has 10 RBIs. Pete Alonso has 14.
Oh, boy.
And let's just look at the Yankees. Judge has 1. 3 guys have 0. Torres has 2. That's 5 guys.
The RBI leaders, Stanton and Rizzo. So,
yeah, they're doing the job.
They've been great.
Moving to the next series is the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat. Miami Heat absolutely blew out the Atlanta Hawks, and the best part is Kevin Knox outscored Trae Young in the entire game. Trae Young had 8 points. Knox had something like 10 or 12. Young was horrible from the field. He literally turned, you know how they call him Ice Trae? The man literally turns into ice. Just completely stone cold. But anyways,
Luka probably loves seeing that right now.
There are some Knicks fans that just love seeing Trae Young's demise live on TV and just want to watch it slowly happen. What?
Was that you?
I want to watch his demise. I think it's fun. I think it'll be fun when Eric Spoelstra continues to game plan defensively to stop Trae Young. He's just such a defensive genius. It's not even funny. He's going to completely shut down Trae Young. Especially with Kyle Lowry on him. He's such a good defensive point guard. Or Jimmy Butler. What's that, Alex?
Only if Thibodeau could do that.
I mean, if we put Miles McBride, Quentin Grimes on him, he should be able to stop him. But anyways, back to the series. Jimmy Butler went off for 21 points. He had multiple assists as well. Duncan Robinson put up 27 points on excellent shooting from the field. Really lit up the scoreboard. Him and Max Strus also had good games as well. Moving to the next series, the Timberwolves upset the Grizzlies in Game 1.
I watched that game.
Yes, so did I. I think I watched the end of it. Anthony Edwards absolutely showcased his coming out party. 36 points against a very good Grizzlies team. Karl Anthony Towns and Malik Beasley had good games as well. I don't think they'll win the series, but this is a very good start to what might be an upset for this Timberwolves team.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns had a good game too, I think. I was a little concerned at Memphis. They just looked a little bit, I don't know, they looked a little step slow, and they didn't seem to have anything around Morant. Like, Morant was having a good game. He had 27 points, but he wasn't getting any support around him at all. So I don't know if that's going to carry on. If that carries on through the series, if it's just a one-man thing, then they're going to struggle. This might be a tighter series because I think the Timberwolves have galvanized themselves with the play-in tournament. I think it's probably given them a little bit of confidence, and they just seem to they seem to all come together for them in game one. But I remember it was the same thing. Remember when Portland destroyed the Lakers, and remember it was in the
bubble.
In the bubble, they destroyed them, and everyone was saying, "Oh my God, that's it. It's the end for the Lakers." But it was a gentleman's sweep in the end. So it could be just a case of maybe it'll take a game for Memphis to get themselves together, and they might. Well, I think they'll still win the series. So yeah, but it was very interesting, and I was really impressed with the Timberwolves. It was such a young team, a lot of really good young players. Edwards is also a very good shooter, and Towns. I mean, what did Thibodeau not see in Towns? He didn't play him when he was managing him. He didn't like him.
And Towns didn't like Thibodeau, but
no.
Towns is absolutely top 3 center in the NBA, and he completely showed that in the game against the Grizzlies, going off. The Raptors are in the process of losing the second game to the Sixers. They're going to get blown out again. Scotty Barnes went down with an ankle injury in game 1 and is out for game 2. Gary Trent was supposed to be doubtful for game 2, but he ended up playing. Tyrese Maxey in game 1 went off for 38 points. This kid is incredible. If he's not in the most improved category, I'd be very shocked. But I know they don't give it to sophomores immediately. So next year might be the year for him. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
And also Harden's assists were sky high in game 1. Like, he just ran a beautiful point guard display.
Feeding to open mouths, Tobias Harris also went off for 26. And another series, which was yesterday's game 1 versus the Phoenix Suns and the New Orleans Pelicans. Suns blew them out. Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas, and CJ McCollum all shot poorly from the field. Chris Paul absolutely dazzled with 30 and 10, and DeAndre Ayton also had a very good game as well.
How old is Chris Paul? Is he like 38?
36, I want to say. Let me look that up. Chris Paul is 36. I just remembered when Celtics fans didn't want him because of his age.
They're bizarre. Like when I heard that we could have gotten Chris Paul, move heaven and earth, get him. Like, it's a no-brainer, and he's just doing his thing for Phoenix.
I'm not going to say we would be where the Suns are if we had Chris Paul, but we'd be in a much better situation because he solves the point guard position.
Yeah,
and it was obviously a good decision for Paul to re-sign with the Suns, and I think they're going to the finals this year, in my opinion.
Not a question as far as I'm concerned. The best team in basketball. They're the best team in basketball.
They're so well coached.
Beautifully coached.
Devin Booker on his side is the sidekick. I mean, how can you beat that?
Then you got Bridges, very good shooter.
Bridges, very good defender.
You got Ayton, very good rim protector. And then Crowder is obviously a good defender, perimeter defender.
Did you see his stat line? Did you see his stat line for game 1? He had a 1-1-1-1-1 stat line. Let me pull it up. I'm not joking when I say this. So I'm gonna let it load for a sec. He had a 1-1-1 stat line. I think he's like the first player in playoffs history to do that. So Crowder had 1 point, 1 block, 1 assist, 1 rebound, 1 free throw made, and no points. That's a pretty damn odd stat line there. It's almost like Tony Snell's stat line where he had 0 points and 0 points, 0 assists, 0 whatever, and like 26 minutes or something. That
I might want to walk back my Crowder take after that.
I mean, he only took 4 shots. All of them were from 3. I mean, that's what he is. He's a 3-and-D player, but nothing else came of it. So I think Pelicans are way too young of a team. They'll easily get swept by the Suns. The Suns are obviously not a joke. I think they're my finals team. The Utah Jazz currently, I actually have the game on the TV right now. They're beating the Dallas Mavericks in Game 1. Obviously, they're playing without Luka, which is a big issue. Now, Jalen Brunson has actually stepped up for the Dallas Mavericks. I think he has like 23 or 25 points, 21 in the first half. So a lot of Knicks fans are, I guess, getting a better look, and he's dishing out the ball pretty nicely. So let me see his stat line for the moment. Brunson so far, 25 points, 4 of 6 from 3, 2 assists, 2 steals, 10 of 16 from the field, and 2 assists, 2 steals. So he's clearly been the best player. Now, if he's surrounded by talent, if his role players can step up, that'd be a better game for the Mavericks. So they're still playing without Luka. We don't know what the situation is for Game 3 and Game 4, obviously. Donovan Mitchell and Bojan Bogdanovic combined for 58 points in Game 1, and Rudy Gobert was merciless on the boards with 17 rebounds. Obviously, he did his job. Moving to the Golden State's Nuggets series, again, I think the Nuggets are a first-round exit. Steph Curry came back, but he was not great, although I'm not going to really, damper on him because he is coming off an injury. The Joker went off with 25 points, and Jordan Poole, who is, I think, in consideration for most improved player, dazzled on the court with 30 points. So it's going to be an interesting series, but I ultimately think Golden State will at least make out of it. But I don't know who they face in the next series. But I don't think Golden State's a finals team, but I do think they're going to give people a run, teams a run for their money. They'll at least make it to the semis.
I thought that I thought for sure they'd make the conference finals, if not the NBA finals. But then Steph got hurt, and it's kind of his play is kind of like he was on the MVP trajectory at the start of the year, and he's kind of slightly tailed off the second half of the year. And then Golden State's results kind of shot right down. So, yeah, I don't have the highest expectations now. I don't quite know. But they've got so much talent, it could just all come together for them. So there's every chance they could make the NBA Finals. They've got a deep enough team to do it. They got the Splash Brothers. They've got everything that they do, all the screens and he runs the whole show right there. So they have the roster that could really challenge Phoenix. I just think that Phoenix are, I think, a safer bet right now.
Yeah, definitely agree with what you said. I think next year might be their year where everybody's matured, everybody's fully healthy. They can obviously make additions. So this next year might be their year where they can actually, contend for the finals. Not saying they can't do it, but I just, without a fully healthy Steph, it's gonna be a little of an obstacle. So,
and Clay as well. Clay's still going to take another couple more months to be 100%.
So we are going to head into Prospect of the Week. So every week on the Boys in the Big Apple podcast from now until the NBA draft, I will dissect one prospect per week. Obviously, getting closer to the draft will view multiple at once. These prospects could fit the Knicks' needs or just in general be a top prospect. It could be lottery, could be anywhere else. So this week's prospect is Arizona forward Benedict Mathurin. So I'm going to pull up my little film video here. Just went over the video. Downloads. Got it right here. Alex, can you please pull it up? So I'm going to start off with a little intro. I have his stat line right here. Let me just pull it up. Give me 1 second. So Benedict Mathurin, he is I think, sophomore out of Arizona. Plays the shooting guard and small forward positions. This past season, he made All Pac-12. He was also the Pac-12 Player of the Year, and he is the Pac-12 Tournament MVP. So in his freshman year, he also made Pac-12 All Freshman Team. He stands at 6'7" and 195 pounds. This season for the Arizona team, he averaged 17 points per game and shot 45% from the field, 37% from downtown on 6.1 attempts per game. His free throw percentage was 76.4%. He had 2.5 assists and 5.6 rebounds per game. So now getting to his game. Starting off,
does it mention his wingspan?
I have that. He's 6'7" with a 6'9" wingspan.
That's good. A good, decent wingspan.
Not terrible. So, first strength is his 3-point shooting. Mathurin is a phenomenal 3-point shooter, recording a career 33% shooting percentage in college. To show his percentage is no fluke, he is averaging 5 threes per game in his career. Mathurin could shoot the three in various ways. He can spot up, come around screens, is not afraid to create his own shot off the dribble. So I'm going to show a little bit of his three-point stuff. So first of all, this is not a three-pointer. He's also athletic enough to go up for insane dunks. This here was against this TCU in the Sweet 16. So let me pull it back a little bit. Alex, watch this dunk if you want. Mathurin is over here. He's coming around. Absolutely nasty.
Vicious.
And watch his jump shot. It's very fluid. I'm not going to say it's Quentin Grimes-esque, but I should say it's kind of similar. Just fluid right off the hands. As I said, he can come around. He can shoot the three in many ways. Pull up for three. He can come around screens. Right here. Pull up from three. Good pass as well. Here's going to come around one screen and pull up from three. He's also a very good off-ball mover, which is very key to his shooting prowess. He's just a complete mismatch for defenses when it comes to moving off the ball. We need more off-ball movers on our team, but I don't see him as a fit for our team. I'll tell you, I'll break it down why in a sec. So right here, he's going to pull up from three. Obviously, he's fouled during the shot.
You know what I like? I like his shooting motion. His shooting motion is very
good. I love it.
It's not herky-jerky. Like Tyrese Halliburton's actually a very good shooter at the NBA level, but he's kind of got a herky-jerky motion. This is very smooth. Like RJ Barrett has struggled with his shot up until now. Still not great now, and he's not got the smoothest motion. This is pure smooth, so it will translate at NBA level.
So I obviously brought down his ability to move off the ball. I think I do have some film on that. No, this actually might be his defense. So Mathurin is a terrific defender, especially on ball. He possesses great hands and the ability to slide through screens to strip the ball handler. He also has great defensive awareness and can identify things before they play out. His athleticism is very much into why, as he's so talented on defense. So let this clip play here, and then it will get to his defense. Strips the ball handler here as he is coming, trying to defend the screen. So just give it a sec. The big man is going to try to set the screen so the wingman can come around, and he just strips him right immediately. Great play there by Mathurin, and he finishes with contact at the rim.
It's a difficult finish.
Absolutely. We'll get into his finishing in about a few seconds. Mathurin is right about here. Good contention, moving with the ball handler.
Yeah.
And then he deflects the pass from the guard, and then he'll eventually take up the floor. Mathurin right here on the logo against the guard. Plays very slides over the screen. Very disciplined. Doesn't knock into the man. Now he slides off a little bit, which allows the guard to take the jump shot. Has to do a little bit of a better job getting through that screen, but ultimately the guy misses.
That could be coached.
Absolutely. So Mathurin obviously comes up with the layup here.
It's a nice finish. Smooth.
Which brings me to my next strength. His ball handling is actually a plus, which actually helps him create off the dribble. Now, he's not a guy who you run the offense with, but he certainly can get around defenders. Watch right here. Just silky smooth off the jump.
He is. Smooth handles.
Let me replay that again because just behind the back handles.
That was sick.
And he goes in for the dunk. He's somebody I liked a lot when I was watching his scouting report. So now, good pass here.
Who was the prospect that you did last week? Was it
Ty Washington?
I was not impressed by any of the stats. Not
a lot of Knicks fans or just in general some NBA fans I've talked to are just impressed because they think he's kind of raw. And as I was detailing last week, I said, he needs to stay another year in college. He's a freshman and he's coming to the NBA. He's going to have to be a little more polished. So
I didn't see anything that's going to translate immediately. What I'm seeing here translates on ball defense, smooth handles, ability to finish, smooth 3-point shot, can switch. That means that it's going to be really handy for teams that you can switch on the ball handlers. You can probably switch on the bigger guys too. That's all very translatable at NBA level.
So let me see if it pulls up. Here we go with this sweet handle again. Obviously, there's a blocking foul there, or there's a charge. So now the next part, Donald, I know you were talking about his finishing. That's actually one of his problems and one of his more weaknesses. So getting to this gap, that part of his game, not a strong finisher at the rim when the time calls for being creative. Now, if he has to go for a simple layup, he'll do that. But when he has to get creative around contact, with more finesse, that's one of his problems. He's someone who doesn't finish with contact, as I said. He's not somebody who avoids... 1 second, I'm sorry for that.
I think we need to have a new thing called Cat of the Week or something like that.
Cat of the Week.
Cat moment of the week.
See, Donald, you had the dog all over you. Now I had the cat meowing at me. So we're just about even.
The dog wasn't as bothering. He was just he or she or whatever it is just came in for a pet.
He did.
Yeah, she just wanted to go out. So going back, one of his probably his biggest weakness, I would say, is his finishing. So I'd say he's not the one to avoid contact, as I was about to say. He just does not know how to put the proper touch on the ball when going up for the layup. I think this can be fixed at the next level, especially working with a trainer at the next level, which I think this issue can be worked through. He has the athleticism. He has the shooting touch. It shouldn't be a problem for him too much. So we're just going to look through this real quick. He's on the drive, faces up contact, can't finish. Here we go again, comes around the screen. Mathurin comes on the drive, just can't finish around the rim. Open pass, great cut by Mathurin, let me add, but he just cannot finish with the contact. Tries to get the foul call. I don't think he's going to get that call immediately, but he has to finish better, as they said. Mathurin inside, has to be better finish.
Yeah.
Obviously taken down there. Mathurin, another tough play. Obviously didn't work out in his favor.
That was ugly.
So his finishing is clearly not his best attribute. Although, again, as I said, that could be worked on. So now, let me see. Here comes his weakness on defense. It's his over-aggressive nature, which I think can be coached at the next level. There will be times where Mathurin will get too handsy and try to pickpocket the ball handler, which leaves him reaching in unnecessarily. Now, he also tends to be over-aggressive when pursuing the ball handler, when trying to navigate around the screen. knocking down the pick setter for an overzealous foul. With proper coaching, this issue of Matherin's could be wiped away. So Shoes will look here. He's defending the ball handler. Just reaches in unnecessarily, trying to strip the ball handler, should I say. Not great defense there. Next one here is against Illinois. Goes around the screen and fouls the three-point shooter unnecessarily. Not great job there. Has to get around the screen a little bit better. And they're going to show us a replay here in a sec. Just unnecessary contention. Obviously didn't get around the screen well enough, and he wasn't in front of his man, so he tried to contest from the side. Obviously doesn't work. Obviously it will be a three-point play. Next one, going around, he's trying to play catch-up with the guard.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to struggle with getting around screens.
So he strips him here for a moment. Gets a little too over-aggressive and goes for the full reach-in. This face should be an entire meme right here.
Do you know what I like, though? The effort. He's constantly giving max effort. You can see, even in his mistakes, he's trying really hard to keep up. I mean, it's better than not having any effort at all. You can coach technique, but one of the great things about defense is you don't have to have the greatest defensive technique, but if you give out max effort, you could probably make stops. That's certainly something that's true in many instances. So
Obi doesn't have the best technique.
Exactly. That's a great example right there. I think also remember when Mitch Robinson first came into the league, he was a walking foul out. He'd constantly pick up fouls. He'd be on the court 5 minutes and he'd have 4 fouls. But he's getting a lot better at that now. It's just, it takes time at the NBA level. But what I'm liking is the effort. Even though some technique issues where they're getting around screens and staying ahead of guys, lateral movement and stuff, but in general, the effort's there.
His athleticism is just off the charts with his wingspan too. That just helps him on defense specifically. So obviously he gets too aggressive, knocking down the pick setter. And now I will be diving into my NBA comparison with him. I was actually talking about Clutch a little bit. I was talking to Clutch Beer Ball TV a little bit about this. My pro comparison for Benedict Mathurin is Andre Iguodala. Matherin's floor seems to me that he's probably a solid 3-and-D player with about average scoring numbers, like a 12 or 13 points per game. He is a starter, by the way. He projects as a starter at the next level. His ceiling, I believe, is a player who can be averaging 17 to 18 points per game as a starter, and he'll probably make the All-Star team maybe once or twice. He's best suited as a second or third option on a normal NBA team. Now, in terms of fit, I do have 3 teams in mind for Benedict Mathurin. I see him as a late lottery pick from 7 to 12. The 3 teams I have in mind are the Sacramento Kings, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Charlotte Hornets. They all have some solid young talent, but the reason I put these teams down is they lack a true defensive identity. All teams that I just mentioned finished bottom 10 in the league in defensive rating. And as I just mentioned that, for the Hawks' sake, Lou Williams is not getting any younger and showed a statistical regression bearing that. Mathurin is a better defender, and he's also more younger and athletic than the 35-year-old journeyman. So Williams, while he does have the distributing skills, it just seems that time is running out on him, and the Hawks might want to get younger. They need defense. He is that guy who can be better on defense. Now, he probably would be on the bench, although that's not really although Mathurin doesn't project to be a bench player, he's more of a starter, which we can all live with. Now, for the Kings' sake, the newly acquired Dante DiVincenzo will be a restricted free agent this offseason. He's earning around $5 to $9 million a year or something like that. I don't know. DiVincenzo is also known for having a nose for the ball defensively. A recent report came out, though, that DiVincenzo alleged that the Kings are trying to tank his value. Mathurin is a more athletic and has better size than that of DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo is also coming off of a statistical down year. So that should be interesting for the Kings to look at. Very tall guard, very athletic. Now for the Hornets I think this is probably the least likely destination out of the three for him. Team's defense is a liability, but it doesn't seem like there's an open spot for the Arizona standout. Rookie James Bouknight, who does have a nose for the ball defensively, struggled to find minutes behind a new improved Cody Martin, who is a free agent, so they probably will re-sign him, and Terry Rozier. So that will end my profile on Benedict Mathurin. Donald, what are your thoughts?
I think the Kings make a lot of sense because they have very little defense on their roster. Sabonis is below average defensively. Halliburton's he's gone, so Fox doesn't play any defense. It would make a lot of sense to have Mather in there. Can I ask, why would you not have the Knicks as a possible option? I mean, if you look at it, the Knicks really missed Reggie Bullock.
I agree. I'm not saying
he's not even that good a player, Reggie Bullock, but they missed his defense. Also, it looks like he's got a lot higher upside than Quentin Grimes, and obviously Knicks fans are really high on Quentin Grimes. He's really good, but I think he's got a bit more skills than Grimes does in many instances.
I agree with you.
So, also, Fournier doesn't play any defense. And Thibodeau loves size at the guard spot. So I assume that we're going to attack the point guard spot, and it probably won't be the biggest guy. So if you got a bigger guard to pair him up with, and then you had RJ at the 3, that could work. Would you not say that?
I agree. It's just going to be there's a log jam. I'm not saying I didn't take the Knicks into the account. They need a 3-and-D guy. RJ is not a 3-and-D guy who's going to cover the opponent's best player. Yeah. It's not that I didn't take the Knicks into account. It's just that where is his role going to be? The wing is very log jammed. You have Emmanuel Quickley. You have Miles McBride. You have Quentin Grimes. You have Cam Reddish, who is a lot of people have forgotten about. You also have Evan Fournier. You also have Alec Burks, who we all forgot played the wing position because he was so thrown at point guard. But it's just a log jam at the position. Now, would I be happy with drafting Mathurin? Absolutely. As long as we have a solution for the point guard position, Mathurin is something that we really need. Now, Grimes, comparing to what wings we have, he's a better shot creator than Grimes. He's, I think, better in size. I think his ceiling is also a little bit higher, as I mentioned. Grimes is 3-and-D, pretty much. I don't think he's going to go any better than that. I'd be surprised if he does. I think Reddish had a very, somewhat high ceiling, but I don't know what the future holds for Reddish at this point when it comes to what his NBA career would look like. That would be, confusing to compare a little bit with Mathurin. But again, I like Mathurin for this team. It's just this team is so log jammed at the wing position.
You're right. But the only other question is
like how are you going to move those wings? It's a lot of youth.
I'm just looking at the Knicks roster. They don't have any point guards apart from Quickley, so they'll need a point guard.
Unless you have Miles McBride play off ball.
They'll probably need a center because Mitch Robinson, I think he's going to go to the highest bidder. Power forward, I assume it's going to be Obi Toppin. I think we're going to move off Randall. So then we've got a whole million wings, as you say. Cam Reddish, you name it, Grimes, 48, RJ. It's a ton of wings. So you're right. But, I mean, if you look at our draft, this draft, there's a lot of talented wings. There's not that many good point guards.
That's true.
I mean, Chandler, maybe. In our range, anyway. Jaden Ivey would obviously be a dream, but we're not going to get a top 5, and he's not even a point guard. He's a 2. So it would just makes me think.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Kennedy Chandler might be the next guy I look at. I know he's very good defensively, but I might just take a look at him because I want to see whatever.
There's just not a lot of point guards, and so it makes me think that we just have to take best player available, and if it is Mathurin at our spot, we take him, and then we just need to pull together a trade where we can get rid of Burks and Randall in a deal, and upgrade other areas. I think that's probably what we'll probably have to do.
If you want to get Matherin, in my opinion, you trade away some of the wings, you trade away Randall, you trade away Burks or whatever, and then you trade that for a point guard, and then you can draft Matherin. I would have no problem drafting him.
Yeah,
that would make a lot of sense. And then you open up I think you can open up space to sign Mitchell Robinson. Because moving off of Randall's contract and moving off Burks' contract are very key.
I have a feeling that the Knicks are going to explore Mitch Robinson and Brunson in a sign and trade. I think
Dallas does need a center. Dallas does need a center. I don't think Dwight Powell or Maxi Kleber are starting. You are typical starting centers, but yeah, I really like Matherin. But do you think? I think MH was mentioning this. Do you think the Knicks need a floor stretching big?
Yes. Probably at center, like a stretch five, like a Christian Wood. Would you consider Wood?
Wood's not good defensively, but sometimes you have to, as I said in the offseason, you have to minus out defense for some offense. I like Wood as a scorer. Obviously, he's not good defensively, as I just mentioned. But if you have somebody to cover that up, that's fine. If you have a good defensive power forward or a solid defensive power forward to, not completely destroy Wood, I'm fine with that. Yeah. Just don't have a Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier situation where none of them is good defensively, and they'll just the dribble penetration from the opposing team will just be at an all-time high. You just don't need that.
Would you consider Miles Turner as a stretch five?
It's too injury prone. Prone, in my opinion. Stretch five, he could stretch the floor.
Yeah.
So Mo Bamba's also a free agent. Also a free agent.
He's overrated. He came into the league. He came in the league with the highest expectations, and it's just not come off for him.
I also see that Serge Ibaka's a free agent. Now I don't know if he's a starter, but he absolutely can stretch that floor.
He'd be a good fit in the mid-level exception, something like that.
I think he's on the Bucks, but he was obviously, I think, traded in a big deal or something. But I don't know. We'll see what the offseason has in store. Alex, do you want to end off on anything like a mock draft or anything?
Well, there's two things. I think we could probably kick the mock draft next week. It's a big draft week. I'm planning to see if we can get some guests on here. Donald's is obviously welcome as usual because Giants fan, he's basically a part of this show now. How about poetic justice? Freddie Freeman just hit a home run against the Braves in his first at bat, against the Braves as a Dodger.
Beautiful. Good for him.
Yeah. And also one more thing. I don't know if you heard, Donald, but in the USFL, there's a team called the Pittsburgh Maulers, and a player got cut because he chose pizza over chicken salad.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Dead serious.
You get cut for that stuff now?
I would sort of, and I wouldn't even fully understand it. I would sort of understand it.
The Yankees didn't
even
NFL,
but it's the fucking USFL.
The Yankees didn't cut Domingo Herman for beating up his wife, but you get cut over your dietary choice. I give up.
I mean, if you're out of shape, that's one thing, but really?
Exactly. Really?
We've so stupid. But with that being said, we'll close out the show. Luca, Donald, me, final thoughts, Luca.
Great show as always. I love going over draft prospects. I'm getting into the NBA draft more and more. I did breakdowns last year of what of the Knicks and Nets prospects. Good talking with Jake, although it was a very short, limited time early on in the show. Hopefully we can have him back on sometime soon when he doesn't have another engagement. Obviously talking Yankees, talking basketball is fun. So, I can't wait for next week when it's draft week. So a lot of more drafts. We can do mock drafts, all this other stuff. So can't wait.
Donald?
Yep. Echo Luka, man. I'm really looking forward to going on a deep dive in the NBA draft, the NFL draft. It's going to be awesome. Next week's going to be absolute fire. This is what we've all been waiting for, especially Giant and Jet fans, because that's all we really have to look forward to most years. So,
it's like Christmas for us.
It is. It really is. A whole weekend of draft. Oh, baby.
It's like Christmas. It's essentially Christmas for us, but we don't know how these prospects will pan out until like months later.
I know, later. But we're all going to be experts though on the weekend, so I can't wait.
Oh yeah,
and it gives us a chance to not have to worry about the Yankees next week, so that's great. A week off from the Yankees.
Wednesday we'll be streaming the Nets Celtics game, so please.
Thursday, let me also mention that we'll be doing a Twitter space. Donald, you're welcome to join. I don't know what time yet. If you want to join, I'll let you know what time. Guys, if you want to join the Twitter space, obviously it will be me, Big Blue in the Bronx, Alex, Donald probably as well, and Brian Mansell, who we did the space last time with. If you guys want to join, you're probably going to have to do it on your phone because that's the only way you can join. Just tap in to speak. But listen, Wednesday, I'm excited to call the game, and Thursday, I'm excited to be in the space with Brian.
So it's Wednesday's Net Celtic game you guys are calling?
Yep.
Cool. Yes. And you're going to do a Yankee game as well? Did you say Saturday, did you just say?
Saturday, there's a lot of stuff that has to come into play.
Right.
It's kind of a difficult situation. I could probably explain that after the fact. So I could possibly be doing a Yankee game. I'm still not sure of that yet. Okay. What was I going to say? Thursday, you guys already know some of the commenters, Tony, Jeffrey, all those guys. The Dead Red Podcast with Sox Arizona at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune into that as we talk Yanks, Red Sox, all that good stuff. Saturday, obviously, said keep an eye out. Possible Yankee game, possibly not. Next week is going to be a big week. I'm probably trying at best trying to get out a mock draft a week, like officially a week before the draft. So we kick off draft week, have a video at least every day because that's what I'm planning on. Next Monday is going to be a big show. We're going to try to get some other people on here. We're going to have a Suns guest as far as the NBA playoffs, obviously baseball season, and we're trying to get, as I said, some NFL guys, some Giants
LA
guys.
Yankee Kings in here.
Shouts to LA Yankee King. And then probably not going live for the draft. I know I contacted because I'm going to a draft party, but I contacted the head of the draft party about possibly streaming like a pre-show to get out to a bigger audience. But unfortunately, I have not received feedback, so I doubt it's happening. But we'll
what
see.
About Alex? Let me ask. What about Friday and Saturday?
Friday we will see. Saturday we'll see as well. That's definitely going to go into discussion. But thank you guys for supporting as usual. But the three of us will see you guys next time on Wednesday for Nets Celtics. Peace.
Let's go. Peace.